Chapter 22. Cloud sprinting footwork. Yuan Yenying and Yen Yun had yet to move. When they saw Qin Yun's movement technique, they found it hard to believe. Especially Yen Yun. She had thought that among the freshmen, she was the one who grasped movement techniques the fastest. But now, Qin Yun, who she looked down on, had actually far surpassed her. Yen Yun needs at least 50 seconds to be able to activate the inner qi of the swallow. And Qin Yun only used a few seconds. How did he do it? This is already at the initial stage of movement technique. Principal Zhang's white eyebrows were tightly knitted as he exclaimed. Yang Shiryu looked at Qin Yun's slightly jerky movement technique and was alarmed. Qin Yun had just obtained the flaming cloud steps yesterday and today. He had reached the initial stage. Previously, when he cultivated the Black Yang art, he had also reached the small success stage overnight. Yang Shiryu also knew that Qin Yun had trained hard for an entire night. However, she never expected him to improve so quickly. He was able to activate his movement technique in 5 seconds. When she saw Qin Yun's perception, she was certain that he was a top-notch genius when it came to learning martial arts. Yang Shiryu, the Hua Ling Wu Academy forbids teachers from teaching spirit-level martial arts to students, yet you dare to violate the rules. Quickly tell me, what movement technique did you pass on to Qin Yun? Cui Hui was angry and jealous. She shouted angrily at Yang Shiryu, who was not far away, and called out her name. As long as Yang Shiryu seized the opportunity, she would not show any mercy. She mocked loudly. Cui Hui, your knowledge is really shallow. You can't even see through Qin Yun's movement technique? How did a frog at the bottom of a well like you become a teacher? It is truly a shame for me to be a teacher in the same Hua Ling Wu Academy as you. Suddenly, a student shouted in shock. The movement technique that Qin Yun is using is our principal's flaming cloud steps. When the crowd heard this, they let out a clamor of surprised discussions. Cui Hui's face immediately flushed red as she felt extremely ashamed and indignant. Even the students could see through Qin Yun's movement technique, but she couldn't. Furthermore, it was the flaming cloud steps used by the principal. Everyone immediately recalled that Qin Yun had won 2 high-grade martial arts techniques in the previous class battle. One of them was the flaming cloud step. Although the flame cloud steps was only a high-grade martial art, no one could accept it. It was because he had learned it too quickly. It had only been a few days since the class battle. A middle-aged teacher frowned and muttered, "Could this be the legendary heart of martial arts? This is a very miraculous talent. His comprehension of various martial arts is extremely high, and he can understand them with just a hint. He can even learn them without a teacher." Previously, he seemed to have grasped the Black Yang art very quickly. Just as everyone was in a heated discussion, Qin Yun had already obtained the 3rd wooden tablet. At this moment, Yen Yun finally moved. Her movement technique was light as she flew like a spirit swallow. Her white dress fluttered in the wind, appearing very beautiful and pleasing to the eye. Everyone loudly praised her. Although Yuan Yenying, who was on the same stage as her, was also outstanding in looks, she was already inferior to her. She was still circulating her Qinggong inner qi. As Qin Yun approached a leopard, he suddenly felt a gentle breeze. It was Yen Yun flying towards him at an extremely fast speed. She deliberately rushed towards Qin Yun to snatch the leopard's wooden token from him. She wanted to prove in front of everyone that her movement technique was stronger than Qin Yun's. A middle-aged teacher said, "Qin Yun seems to only be able to use his movement technique and inner qi. He has yet to master any footwork. His footwork is very crude, as if he is running in a disorderly manner. Footwork is like an external skill, it is extremely important. Little Yun can use her footwork. With this comparison, it is obvious who is stronger." Wei Xuanquan, who was still a little worried, sneered, "It can be seen how weak Qin Yun's foundation is. He doesn't have any foundation at all, and yet he is able to break through so quickly. He might even go berserk." On the battling platform, Yen Yun had surpassed Qin Yun. Everyone let out a cheer, praising Yen Yun's movement technique. Yen Yun was indeed faster than Qin Yun since she could use her footwork. She had already reached out, preparing to remove the wooden token from the leopard's neck. Qin Yun looked at Yen Yun in front of him and gritted his teeth. He felt extremely indignant. Yen Yun did not chase after the nearby leopards and deliberately ran towards him. It was obvious that she was provoking him. Now, he deeply understood that the power of the fire cloud inner chi was greatly limited because it did not have a footwork technique. It required a footwork technique in order to explode out. In his anxiety, Qin Yun did not know why, but many movement techniques suddenly appeared in his mind. It was the footwork technique of the fire cloud step. Cloud rushing footwork? He seemed to have suddenly comprehended this footwork technique. The energy in his feet surged, and as he took a step, the martial stage shook with a ping-ping sound. Even he found it inconceivable that a profound footwork technique would be suddenly enlightened in an instant. Just as Yen Yun was about to touch the wooden tablet, she suddenly felt a scorching aura rushing towards her from behind. She turned her head and saw Qin Yun rushing over. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of her. Just as she was stunned, the wooden tablet that she was about to obtain was taken away by Qin Yun. After Qin Yun obtained the wooden tablet, he immediately ran towards the other leopard. The astonished Yen Yun stared at Qin Yun in a daze. She was shocked and angry at the same time. For a moment, she did not know what to do. The smile on Wei Xuanquan's face froze in an instant. His expression was as ugly as if he had swallowed a fly. Waves of exclamations came from the surroundings of the battling platform. Qin Yun, who had just obtained the fire cloud steps, was able to quickly circulate the fire cloud inner chi and grasp a footwork technique. This was equivalent to the peak of the initial success stage. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed it to be true. The happiest person was none other than Yang Shiryu. She glanced at Cui Hui, whose expression was extremely ugly. At the same time, she felt extremely carefree. A strong thought suddenly arose in her mind. It was to let Qin Yun compete for first place in the Heavenly Lion martial meet. Little Yun, quickly join hands with Yenying. Cui Hui, who was below the battling platform, suddenly shouted, Yenying, you must cooperate with little Yun. Cui Hui was so anxious that her eyes turned red. If she lost, she would lose 40,000 crystal coins. It would be extremely painful. You idiot, you're so slow. Yen Yun came back to her senses and shouted angrily at Yuan Yenying, hurry up and chase the leopards over to me. What are you still standing there for? Useless thing. Yuan Yenying was very angry when she was called an idiot. However, because Yen Yun was the granddaughter of the Duke of Yen, she could only endure it. Qin Yun has succeeded again. Everyone suddenly shouted as they saw Qin Yun obtain another wooden tablet. He had already obtained the 5th wooden tablet. Yuan Yenying had finally used her movement technique. When Yen Yun saw that Yuan Yenying's movement technique was not bad, she felt that they could force Qin Yun to a draw. The heavy anxiety in her heart was no longer there. Yuan Yenying drove a large leopard towards Yen Yun. After the leopard was chased over, Yen Yun, who was already prepared, quickly rushed forward. But at that moment, a figure suddenly flashed in front of her. Qin Yun was here. His footsteps were as fast as lightning as he flashed past the leopard and took the wooden tablet. Qin Yun had obtained the 6th wooden tablet. The outcome was set. Previously, Yen Yun had wanted to snatch Qin Yun's wooden tablet, but now, she was the one being snatched by Qin Yun. Yen Yun was infuriated as she glared at Qin Yun with a sinister gaze. Chapter 23. Extra reward. Yen Yun and Yuan Yenying had already given up. They could not beat Qin Yun at all. Yang Shiryu's beautiful face was filled with a sweet smile. She said to Cui Hui with a chuckle, your student is only at this level, yet he actually came to participate in the Heavenly Lion martial meet. This is great. Your 40,000 crystal coins have been wasted, right? This is the price of overestimating your abilities. Cui Hui was so angry that her entire body was trembling. She gritted her teeth and her heart was bleeding with hatred. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she stared at Qin Yun on the battling platform. Not long after, Qin Yun took down 10 wooden tokens. He had won perfectly. The spectating seniors were all filled with emotion. Qin Yun had only just entered the Hua Ling Wu Academy, and he had already improved at such a rapid pace. If he were to continue like this, it was hard to imagine how strong he would be in the future. When Wei Xuanquan heard someone praise Qin Yun, he did not think much of it. He said with a sneer, Qin Yun only has one bloodline. No matter how talented he is in other aspects, he can only stop here. If he were to compete with me, I would let him know what a true martial arts genius is. Yan Yun walked down the battling platform with tears in her eyes. As if she had suffered a great grievance, she threw herself into Wei Xuanquan's embrace and sobbed softly, Brother Kuan, you must help me teach that bastard Qin Yun a lesson. He stole my superior origin pill. Everyone snickered in their hearts. It was clear that they were inferior to others, but they had to blame others. However, none of them dared to say it out loud. No one dared to offend Wei Xuanquan. When Wei Xuanquan saw Yan Yun crying so miserably, he pointed at the distant Qin Yun and shouted, Qin Yun, you are a man, yet you bully a little girl like this. You are truly shameless. You are not worthy of being a man. Alright, you are a man. How about giving the girls here a superior origin pill? Qin Yun said with a mocking smile. You don't even have a single superior origin pill right now, do you? You'd better get one quickly and give it to your fiancée so that she won't cry and embarrass herself here. Cui Hui was willing to use 40,000 crystal coins to register for the superior origin pill. This meant that the value of the superior origin pill was above 40,000 crystal coins. Brother Kuan, look at him. Woo 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 woo. Yan Yun burst into tears. Everyone could tell that she had done it on purpose to provoke Wei Xuanquan and make him think of a way to get a superior Yuan Dan. Qin Yun, you only have one spirit vein. Even if you eat an essence pill, you can only absorb one type of spiritual energy. It won't be of much use to you. How about selling it to me? 40,000 crystal coins, are you selling it or not? When Wei Xuanquan spoke, his tone was filled with threat. Not selling, Qin Yun said decisively. Wei Xuanquan became anxious. His fierce eyes narrowed as he said, 50,000 crystal coins, do you want to sell it? Xiao Yun has 4 spiritual veins, so she's more suitable to eat superior elemental elixirs than you. Qin Yun walked to Yang Shiyu's side. His attitude was firm and his tone unyielding. Even if she has the 7th spirit vein, I won't sell it. Fine, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Young Master Wei is Master Wei's son. Do you know who you've offended? When Cui Yu saw this, she hurriedly rebuked Qin Yun angrily. Young Master Wei buying your pill is because he thinks highly of you. When Wei Xuanquan saw that Cui Hui had brought out his father's name, he planned to use it to pressure Qin Yun. He said, Qin Yun, I'll give you another chance. If you know what's good for you, you should know what to do. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences. Why should I sell it to you? Who do you think you are? After Qin Yun finished speaking, he turned to look for Principal Zhang to collect the superior Yuan Dan. Wei Xuanquan clenched his fists so tightly that they exploded. His eyes were filled with a murderous glint as he looked at Qin Yun's back. His gaze seemed to be able to kill. No one had ever dared to offend him like this. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in the Hua Ling Wu Academy, he would have fought him long ago. Now, he could only endure this anger. His face was filled with hatred as he said in a deep voice, Qin Yun, just you wait. With a smile on his face, Principal Zhang handed Qin Yun a small bottle and said with a smile, You were able to pass the first round perfectly. You deserve this superior Yuan Dan. If you can pass the second round, there will be another superior Yuan Dan. Principal Zhang's words stunned everyone. There was actually one more. What's going on? Cui Hui cried out. Yan Yun and Yuan Yenying were unable to enter the second round because they did not obtain a single wooden token. Principal Zhang smiled and said, because he was able to pass the first round perfectly, we have to reward such outstanding students more so that they can continue to work hard. Cui Hui was so angry that she nearly vomited blood. If Yan Yun and Yuan Yenying had not given up, as long as they could obtain a wooden token, Qin Yun would not have been able to pass the examination perfectly. There are quite a few outstanding brats in this year's freshmen. We planned to give the new students at the 4th level of the martial body realm a new plan for the Heavenly Lion martial meet. However, none of you came, so we were unable to carry it out. Principal Zhang chuckled and said, in the future, you must remember not to miss any more important meetings. Cui Hui took a few deep breaths to make herself feel much more comfortable. Qin Yun, the next test is the strength test. It will test the strength of your inner qi. There are 2 choices for you. One is a normal test. With your ability, you can easily pass it. As for the other one, it will be very difficult. However, if you can pass it, you will be able to obtain another superior Yuan pill. Principal Zhang said, make your choice. Cui Hui was very unwilling. She looked at Yang Shiryu with a face full of jealousy and hatred and said loudly, Principal Zhang, Qin Yun only has 1 spirit vein. Qin Yun only has 1 spirit vein. It would be a waste to give him the superior Yuan pill. Principal Zhang smiled faintly and said, he obtained the superior Yuan pill with his own abilities. Even if he fed it to the dogs, that would be his problem. What does it have to do with us? Cui Hui suffered a setback and did not say anything else. She could only suppress the anger in her heart. Qin Yun thought carefully and said, I choose the most difficult one. Principal Zhang nodded and said, other than Teacher Yang, you can choose any teacher from the scene to come up. They are on the battling platform and only defend. You will attack. You have to use 1 move to force them to retreat. As long as they move their feet even half a step, they will pass this test. There were a few teachers present who were very jealous of Qin Yun. They also wanted to curry favor with Wei Xuanquan. When the time came, they would definitely use all their strength to defend and not give Qin Yun a chance. Yang Shiryu said with a frown, this is too difficult. Cui Hui laughed loudly and said, as long as I pass, I will be able to obtain the superior Yuan pill. How can it not be difficult? Principal Zhang urged, Qin Yun, quickly choose a teacher and come up. Qin Yun suddenly pointed at Cui Hui and said loudly, I choose her. Principal Zhang was instantly stunned. Qin Yun's choice of Cui Hui was beyond everyone's expectations, causing them to exclaim in a low voice. Everyone could tell that Cui Hui hated Yang Shiryu and Qin Yun to the core. However, Qin Yun had chosen her. Principal Zhang thought that Qin Yun was joking and asked, Qin Yun, are you sure you want to choose Teacher Cui? Qin Yun grinned and said, she's the weakest. As long as she's not stupid, she will choose her. These words caused Cui Hui to be infuriated. Yang Shiryu was not surprised because if it was her, she would have chosen Cui Hui as well. Cui Hui was the weakest of all the teachers. Just by looking at how she fawned over Wei Xuanquan, one could tell that she did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. She gritted her teeth when she heard Qin Yun's words. She leaped onto the dueling platform and glared at Qin Yun with a sinister look in her eyes. Chapter 24. Bottleneck. Qin Yun stood at the edge of the battle stage, while Cui Hui stood in the middle. He looked at Cui Hui and took a deep breath. Then, he began to run wildly, using the cloud-running footwork of the flaming cloud step. The rushing cloud steps was originally able to produce a strong impact when charging. If it was combined with other martial techniques, its might would be even stronger. Qin Yun, who was using the rushing cloud footwork, rushed over. His entire body surged with energy like a dragon or tiger, giving off a ferocious aura. It's the galloping cloud footwork's galloping cloud like a dragon. I didn't expect him to learn it so quickly. After Director Zhang saw it, he was slightly surprised. Only he could see it. Suddenly, a wave of energy surged out from Qin Yun's legs as the roar of a dragon sounded out. When Cui Hui saw this, she scoffed. Just as she was about to mock and ridicule him, she did not expect Qin Yun's speed to suddenly increase. In the blink of an eye, he flew in front of her. Hu! Qin Yun punched out as a gust of wind whistled out. The force was ferocious as it struck at Cui Hui's abdomen. Cui Hui hadn't even used her qi to defend. She originally thought that when Qin Yun attacked, she would instantly circulate her qi to resist because that would produce a certain amount of recoil. If she performed well, she would be able to send him flying and injure him. However, she never expected that Qin Yun's speed would suddenly become so fast. Just as she was stunned, Cui Hui felt her abdomen being hit by a dull and scorching wave of air. Ah! Cui Hui let out a cry of unwillingness and flew out of the arena in a sorry state before crashing heavily onto the ground. After a moment of silence, an uproar broke out. Cui Hui was actually sent flying out of the stage. This was truly unexpected. Thank you, Cui Laosher, for going easy on me. Qin Yun's teasing voice broke the silence, causing everyone to regain their senses. Give way? Everyone could tell that Cui Hui hated Qin Yun to the bone. How could she give in? Cui Hui was so angry that she was at a loss for words. Her nails clawed at the hard stone floor, leaving claw marks. Qin Yun has passed the assessment. He will be able to compete on stage in 5 days. Principal Zhang looked at Qin Yun with eyes filled with admiration. Qin Yun obtained another superior yuan pill and revealed a brilliant smile. Even if he gets 10 pills, it's useless because he only has 1 meridian and can only absorb 10% of the medicinal power. Wei Xuankuan said disdainfully, but his eyes were filled with jealousy. Brother Kuan, you are much more talented than him. You are also a future inscription master. Yan Yun said in a low voice, You must teach this arrogant guy a lesson. I will definitely teach him a lesson. Wei Xuankuan said coldly, his eyes filled with viciousness. Yang Shiyu and Qin Yun chatted and laughed as they left the Heavenly Lion Hall and returned to the quiet bamboo forest courtyard beside the lake. Eat 2 superior elemental pills first, then learn the Flaming Light Fist. Your comprehension is really high, you will definitely be able to grasp it within 5 days. I feel that you have a high chance of getting first place in the Heavenly Lion martial meet. Yang Shiyu was now filled with confidence in Qin Yun. A 5th-stage martial artist's inner qi is stronger than yours, but you have the purple gold fire martial spirit, which can make up for a lot of the gap. If you eat another 2 superior essence pills, in addition to your mastery of martial techniques, your strength will increase a little. Yang Shiyu was extremely excited. If Qin Yun were to obtain first place in the Heavenly Lion martial meet, he would definitely be the strongest freshman in the history of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. If Qin Yun could obtain first place and enter the Heavenly Lion Lake, his strength would greatly increase. When she thought of this, her heart was filled with anticipation. When Qin Yun saw that Yang Shiyu was very happy, he was also very pleased. He said, Teacher, can you help me find some books related to inscriptions? I want to gain a deeper understanding of inscriptionists and inscriptions. Yang Shiyu suddenly let out a long sigh and said, Your perception is extremely high. If you had someone to guide you, you would also be able to become an inscription master. What a pity! There aren't many inscriptionists, and good inscriptions are all viewed as treasures. They won't be easily spread out, so I temporarily have no way for you to learn inscriptions. Qin Yun smiled casually. It's fine. I'm still young. I'll have plenty of chances in the future. Yang Shiyu nodded and said, Yes, this kind of thing requires a certain amount of luck. I'll go look for books on inscriptions now so that you can understand more about them. It can also be considered as a form of foundation. After she finished speaking, she went to borrow a book on inscriptions. As for Qin Yun, he entered his room and consumed an origin pill before beginning to cultivate. While he was cultivating, he was thinking about how he had suddenly comprehended the rushing cloud step. Even now, he still didn't understand what was going on. Could it be that the mental force cultivated through the Nine Suns' spiritual energy has a higher perception? Qin Yun felt that this was the only explanation that made sense. When he was learning martial arts techniques, as long as someone gave him some pointers, he would be able to fuse them together and then comprehend them on his own. The profound and difficult parts would gradually become clear and transparent. Sometimes, he would suddenly have a flash of inspiration and understand it in an instant. Right now, the most important thing is to refine the superior yuan pill. Qin Yun was looking forward to the effects of the superior yuan pill. He had cultivated the black yang art to the small success stage and was refining the medicinal power very quickly. In just a day, the superior yuan pill had been completely refined. The spiritual energy contained within the superior yuan pill was 10 times that of the qi refining pill. However, after he finished absorbing it, there were no signs of a breakthrough. He used his mental force to look at the purple gold fire elemental energy in his dantian and checked the situation of his elemental energy. He discovered that his elemental energy had become extremely full and was about to break through. My second elemental energy has reached a bottleneck. When Teacher Yang comes back, I'll ask her what the key to breaking through to the 5th level is. Qin Yun swallowed the second superior yuan pill. Previously, the superior yuan pill had been absorbed by the mysterious vibration of the elemental energy. Now, this pill was going to be used to cultivate the fire elemental energy. After Qin Yun refined the second superior yuan pill, he frowned and muttered, "It's the same situation as before. How can I break through this bottleneck?" He shook his head and temporarily stopped thinking about it. He hurriedly went to take a bath. A moment later, he came out of his room. He saw several old, yellowed books on the table in the hall. Yang Shiryu had returned and helped him get a few old books that recorded the knowledge of mysterious patterns. "How's the effect of eating 2 superior yuan pills?" Yang Shiryu asked. It was already dark, and she had just taken a bath. She was wearing a loose light pink robe, and her shoulders and arms were covered with translucent muslin. Her black hair hung down in front of her full chest, making her look extremely sexy, tender and alluring, and a feast for the eyes. Qin Yun, who was only 15 years old, felt his heart tremble as he watched. His heart could not help but race a few times. After calming himself down, he said, "I've encountered a bottleneck. My elemental energy can no longer absorb and refine spiritual energy. It's so full that I don't know what to do." With that, he picked up an old book and began to read it seriously. "Your inner force cultivation method needs to improve. You have already learned the black yang art to the small success stage. You need to reach the large success stage before you can activate your elemental energy to absorb spiritual energy." Yang Shiryu's eyes moved as she continued, "Under normal circumstances, your small success in your inner force is enough to step into the 5th level of the martial body realm. However, your inability to break through could also be because of the purple gold fire martial spirit." Chapter 25. Flaming Fist. Once you break through, your inner yuan will also increase. In the future, the inner qi refined will be even stronger. This is the benefit of breaking through. Yang Shiryu said, "Other than the restrictions of the cultivation technique, I also need an opportunity to transform my elemental energy. For example, many martial artists will struggle on the edge of life and death to comprehend life and death. Under the pressure of the fear of death, They will use their strong desire to live to stimulate their potential and break through bottlenecks. I can suddenly comprehend the galloping cloud steps while fighting on the battling platform. Qin Yun knew the key to breaking through the bottleneck. At that time, he was spurred on by a strong desire to win. There were still 3 days before the martial arts competition. He planned to try and see if he could trigger the opportunity to break through. Study well. I'll guide you in learning the flaming light fist tomorrow. Yang Shiyu flirtatiously stroked her hair before returning to her room to rest. Qin Yun took the book back to his room to read. He read very quickly and memorized everything. In the middle of the night, he finished reading a few books. He also had a general understanding of the inscription and knew how to use it. However, he still did not have enough strength to use it. This was because one needed to be at least at the 5th level of the martial body realm in order to have enough inner chi to inscribe spirit mark. In the morning, birds were chirping in the bamboo forest, and the breeze gently blew the bamboo leaves, making a rustling sound. In an elegant courtyard in the bamboo forest, Yang Shiyu sat in a pavilion and explained the difficulties of the flaming light fist to Qin Yun. Her graceful steps moved back and forth. Her snow-white dress and beautiful black hair danced along with the gentle morning breeze. Her entire body emitted a light and refined aura, causing her to seem as if she had blended into this beautiful morning. She was lively, elegant, and beautiful. The flame light fist's basic level allows one's fist to glow and heat up when punching. When it reaches the initial level, your fists will be like red iron, and you will be able to burst out a dazzling flash in an instant. Your inner chi will also be consumed very quickly. After Yang Shiyu finished speaking, she gracefully sat on a stone bench in the pavilion. She picked up a cup of tea that Qin Yun had poured and gently sipped it with her red lip. Qin Yun admired her very much. She had a deep understanding of martial arts cultivation techniques that he had never learned before. He was suddenly very curious and asked, "Teacher, what is the attribute of your martial soul?" Yang Shiyu put down her teacup and smiled mysteriously. She said softly, "It's a secret for now. When you become as strong as me in the future, you will naturally know. You can start practicing flaming light fist now. I'll watch you practice from the side." "All right." Qin Yun walked out of the pavilion and began practicing on a flat ground. In the palace, on a luxurious golden-red phoenix chair, sat a woman dressed in phoenix-embroidered clothes. This person was the Tianqin Empress. When she found out about Qin Yun's situation at the Hualingwu Academy, she flew into a rage. She smashed the jade table beside her with a palm and shouted angrily at the few old officials below, "You are all a bunch of good-for-nothings. All of you are old foxes in your 70s and 80s, yet you did not deal with that little thing, Qin Yun. He has already entered the Hualingwu Academy for a few days. Not only has he not been weakened, he has even been promoted step by step." An old blue-robed official said with a troubled expression, "The rules of the Hualingwu Academy are strict. We are unable to use them." Furthermore, Yang Shiyu was extremely protective of Qin Yun. This was a huge obstacle. We can only wait for Qin Yun to walk out of the Hualingwu Academy before we can find an opportunity to make a move. Your Majesty, you can rest assured. He only has one bloodline, so he won't be able to go far on the path of martial arts. Another old official bowed and said with a trembling voice, "We have already tried our best to get an elder from the Hualingwu Academy to transfer Yang Shiyu away. As long as Qin Yun is not with Yang Shiyu, it will be even more convenient for us to make our move." The Empress gritted her teeth as a vicious look flashed in her eyes. She said, "All right, it's up to you. I must see Qin Yun die a miserable death." An old official asked in a low voice, "Your Majesty, how is the Emperor's current situation?" "His cultivation went berserk, causing him to suffer serious internal injuries. He can be considered crippled." The Empress sneered, "As long as the engagement between the Crown Prince and Shao Yuan is successful, with the help of the Tian Shao Empire, we can completely eliminate those who oppose us. Over the past few days, Qin Yun had been practicing the flaming light fist day and night. His hard work had paid off greatly. He was able to learn the flaming light fist to the small success stage, turning his fist into red-hot iron. At the same time, he could control his fist to explode with a flash of light. Yang Shiyu walked out of the house and saw Qin Yun practicing his fist. She nodded in satisfaction and said with a smile, "You truly have an extremely high comprehension of martial arts techniques. It seems like you truly possess the legendary heart of martial arts. You might even be able to cultivate your cultivation technique to perfection." "That's right, Qin Yun. I remember that you used a martial skill in the square of the Imperial Palace that allowed your inner qi to explode with great power. What martial skill was it?" "It's called the qi explosion technique." "I wonder if teacher has heard of it? It was passed down to me by the Grand Preceptor. I wonder what level it is at." As Qin Yun spoke, he punched the ground and a violent burst of flaming inner qi burst out. Boom! A crater appeared on the ground, emitting a hot aura. It was as if a meteor had crashed down. So strong. This is not an ordinary martial skill. I have never heard of it before. Yang Shiyu said in surprise. Her expression suddenly turned serious. "I'll go check what kind of martial skill this is." She was worried that it was a demonic art. If that was the case, it would be troublesome, so she hurriedly left her residence to look up martial arts books. Qin Yun also hoped that Yang Shiyu would be able to find out what kind of martial arts the qi explosion technique was. At the very least, she needed to know what level it was at. He had already grasped the flaming light fist, so he temporarily did not need to practice it. He returned to his room and took out a bamboo scroll with mysterious patterns. He used a pen to draw the spirit patterns on the white paper. "When I step into the 5th level of the martial body realm, I will start learning the inscriptions on my own." He was eager to give it a try, but he did not have enough strength yet. In the evening, Yang Shiyu returned with food. When Qin Yun saw her beautiful face filled with relief and a hint of joy, he knew that the qi explosion technique was not a demonic art. The qi explosion technique is actually a low-grade profound rank martial art, and it's a very strong one at that. Yang Shiyu placed the dishes on the table and said doubtfully, "Generally speaking, profound rank cultivation techniques are rarely spread out. Your Grand Preceptor is really mysterious." Qin Yun sighed and said, "I wonder how she is now." "Don't worry, she will be fine." Yang Shiyu comforted him before warning him with a stern expression, "You must rest well tonight. You must participate in tomorrow's Heavenly Lion martial meet in your final state." Late at night, Qin Yun did not practice his martial arts. Instead, he cultivated his inner force cultivation method. "As long as I master the Black Yang art, I will be able to approach the 5th stage." In the past few days, he had taken some time to cultivate the Black Yang art. Although he had not been able to reach mastery, he felt that he was very close. Unknowingly, he had immersed himself in the mental cultivation method of the Black Yang art and entered a very different state. His mind seemed to be isolated from the outside world. Early in the morning, the 9 suns rose and the light shone on Qin Yun's body, waking him up. The moment he woke up, the plot naturally circulated the Black Yang art. He suddenly felt a lot of 9 Yang energy entering his body. He hurriedly looked at his dantian and saw that his inner yuan was slowly revolving. Inner yuan is revolving. I have cultivated the Black Yang art to the large success stage. Qin Yun jumped out of bed in joy. He changed into a clean set of gray tight clothes and combed himself neatly. Chapter 26. Heavenly Lion Martial Meeting. Thousands of students had already gathered in the Heavenly Lion Hall. This time, the freshmen had also come. When they saw Qin Yun arrive, their faces were filled with jealousy. On one hand, they had come to see how a fifth-level student would fight. On the other hand, they wanted to see how Qin Yun would suffer a crushing defeat. In the spacious Heavenly Lion Hall, there were 9 large battling platforms. They were at least dozens of meters wide, and the one in the middle was the largest. It was 100 meters wide. When the time was up, Qin Yun walked forward to gather. There were a total of 64 people participating in the Heavenly Lion martial meeting. They were divided into 8 groups, and the final battle would be held on the grand battling platform in the middle of the hall. Wei Xuanquan was not far from Qin Yun. He did not even look at Qin Yun as he stood there proudly. He looked confident and did not place Qin Yun in his eyes at all. After everyone arrived, Principal Zhang began to explain the rules and then split them into groups. Qin Yun was placed in the 8th group, while Wei Xuanquan was placed in the 1st group. Each group would draw lots and be divided into 4 groups to carry out an elimination tournament to determine the first place. The first place of each group would then compete with the first place of the other group. As long as Wei Xuanquan is not in my group, I should be able to relax a lot. Qin Yun looked at the crowd and did not see Yang Shiyu. He did not know where she had gone, but this made him somewhat worried. He did see Cui Hui, who had arrived with a delicate face, Yan Yun. 8th martial platform, Qin Yun, Fang Rugong, prepare to go on stage. A large man shouted. Qin Yun was the first to fight, which attracted the attention of many people. No one was optimistic about him. He had only just entered the 4th level, but his opponent had already stepped into the 5th level. In terms of inner qi and martial skills, they were definitely superior to the 4th level. Fang Rugong was a tall and thin youth wearing luxurious blue brocade clothes. His expression was filled with contempt, and he did not place Qin Yun in his eyes at all. 8th martial platform, begin. Fang Rugong's footsteps were light as he took a step forward. His thigh shot up and swept towards Qin Yun's head, bringing with it a strong gust of wind that whistled. It's a low-grade spirit-level martial art, steel wind kick. Below the battling platform, someone shouted in shock, "It's fast and crazy, it's a technique to defeat the enemy." Qin Yun's reaction was extremely fast. He suddenly turned ferocious and punched out. A tiger's roar resounded as it tore through the air and struck Fang Rugong's sweeping leg. He was actually using the spirit tiger fist. Their fists and legs collided, sending out shock waves. Fang Rugong, who was standing on one leg, lost his balance and fell to the ground after his leg, which had been kicked high up in the air, was hit hard. Someone actually used a fist to fight a leg, and he even won! When using the steel wind kick, the thigh is filled with inner qi, making it as hard as steel. It can easily break trees. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to take it head-on, but Qin Yun dares. I wonder if his fist bones are shattered? Fang Rugong hugged his thigh and cried out in pain, unable to continue fighting. He looked at Qin Yun's tightly clenched fist and could not help but feel fear in his heart. He could only admit defeat. Fang Rugong defeated. Qin Yun is victorious. Qin Yun actually won against a 5th firmament at the 4th firmament. Furthermore, he only used one move, and it was the common spirit tiger fist. The older students at the 5th level of the martial body realm were all dumbfounded as they let out low cries of surprise. Is this true? Qin Yun really defeated Fang Rugong in one move. It's true. Could it be that Fang Rugong's cultivation had regressed? Why is he so noob? He was beaten to the ground by a single move of the spirit tiger fist. This is truly unbelievable. A 4th level martial body freshman actually defeated a 5th level martial body senior. Fang Rugong has lost too much face for us seniors. Everyone let out all sorts of doubtful and surprised comments. Under the disdainful gazes of the crowd, Fang Rugong walked down the battling platform in shame and indignation. Cui Hui said with a displeased expression, Qin Yun's inner qi is very wild. It's mainly because of the purple gold fire martial spirit. Apart from being unable to leave his body, his strength is no different from the 5th level. No wonder Yang Shiryu allowed him to participate in the Heavenly Lion martial meet. He already possesses a certain level of strength. Yan Yun snorted and said with disdain, no matter what, he will lose to Brother Kuan in the end. Brother Kuan is at the 5th level of the martial body realm. Because there were very few people with the purple gold fire martial spirit, no one knew how strong the inner chi of this martial spirit was. Now, everyone could see the advantage of a high-grade martial spirit from Qin Yun's strength. A higher-level martial spirit could crush people to death. Very quickly, the first round of the 8th dueling platform was over. Next, the second round would begin. Qin Yun was once again the first match. This time, his opponent was a tall youth named Wang Qin. He knew that Qin Yun was not easy to deal with. Qin Yun had been watching the battle very carefully. He thought to himself, Wang Qin, his inner chi is very strong. It's a thunder martial spirit, but his speed is slightly slow and sluggish. This time, Qin Yun was the first to attack. Using the galloping cloud footwork, he instantly arrived in front of Wang Qin. Such a speed had already surpassed many of the older students at the 5th level of the martial body realm. This caused many students at the 5th level of the martial body realm to exclaim in their heart. Wang Qin sneered as if he had already expected this. His fist that flickered with lightning seemed to be waiting for Qin Yun as it charged forward in a timely manner. Just as Qin Yun was about to collide with the incoming lightning fist, he suddenly turned his head to the side to avoid it. At the same time, he punched at Wang Qin's chest. A low and deep tiger's roar suddenly came out. Everyone could not help but be alarmed. Qin Yun was actually using the spirit tiger fist to compete. Wang Qin was extremely confident in his tall body. He hurriedly circulated the lightning inner chi in his body and concentrated it on his upper body. He did not dodge and continued to attack Qin Yun with his lightning fist. He never expected that Qin Yun would suddenly squat down and dodge his thunder fist. His thunder fist missed. At the same time, Qin Yun's fist also changed direction and went straight for Wang Qin's thigh. Arg! Wang Qin's thigh was severely injured, and the pain was unbearable. Even the slightest movement would cause severe pain to spread throughout his entire body. He thought that Qin Yun would attack his upper body. He never expected that Qin Yun would aim at his weakest thigh. The rushing cloud footwork could make Qin Yun's inner chi stronger. In addition, the scorching fire inner chi could seep into his flesh and bones, which was why Wang Qin was in such pain. I concede. Wang Qin hastily shouted. Otherwise, if Qin Yun touches him, it will be even more painful. Qin Yun won once again. A commotion broke out in the hall. By defeating a 5th-level martial body for the second time, Qin Yun could completely prove that he had the strength to match a 5th-level martial body. When Yan Yun saw that Qin Yun was in the limelight, she gritted her teeth. Brother Kuan will definitely make him suffer a crushing defeat. Let's see how long he can be complacent for. If I win one more match, I will be first in the group. Qin Yun calmed himself down and walked down the stage. He was already very familiar with the use of martial skills. It was mainly because he had been sparring with Yang Shiryu for the past few days. During the battle, Yang Shiryu simulated all sorts of situations to train him and accumulated a lot of battle experience. On the other side, Wei Xuankuan had also won consecutively. Those who fought against him had some scruples and didn't dare to offend him. They didn't even fight seriously. Those who were in the same group as Wei Xuankuan could only blame their bad luck. Following that, Qin Yun won again and won first place in the group. A 4th-level martial body cultivator taking first place in the group was unprecedented. If Qin Yun were to obtain first place in the end, it would be even more shocking. It would be recorded in the history of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Chapter 27. Qin Diren 2 hours after the start of the Heavenly Lion martial meet, the 8 groups of martial arts competition had all ended. Qin Yun was unscathed and obtained first place in the group. As for the first place in his group, most of them were covered in wound. This would give him a great advantage in the upcoming duels. Only a few people were uninjured. 2 of them were Qin Yun and Wei Xuanquan. The other was a handsome man with a gentle smile on his face. His name was Qin Diren. Qin Diren? I think I've heard of him before. Could he be the son of the king of Qin? Qin Yun suddenly remembered. Many people did not know Qin Diren's identity, but he knew that it was his cousin. Qin Diren's father was the emperor's younger brother. He was the famous king of Qin who guarded the borders. Because his family was at the border, no one knew much about his family's situation. I wonder what the relationship between the king of Qin and the empress is like. Qin Yun thought to himself as he went to draw lot. Unfortunately, he had drawn the lot for a duel with Qin Diren. Qin Diren walked over and smiled at Qin Yun. What a coincidence. I'll be on the battling platform later. Please give me your guidance. He was 18 or 19 years old, and slightly taller than Qin Yun. His thin face was extremely handsome and he wore simple white clothes. He had an elegant demeanor and gave off a good impression of him. I hope you can show mercy. Qin Yun did not know if the other party was a friend or foe, so he did not reveal his identity. On the other hand, you have to show mercy. I might not be your match, Qin Diren said with a smile. His tone was modest and his face was full of smiles. Qin Yun only smiled and did not say anything else. The most important thing was to do his best to win the chance to enter the Heavenly Lion Lake. The 2 of them walked onto the battling platform. In the group competition, Qin Diren defeated his opponent in a single move. His strength is unfathomable. He should be the only person who can fight against Wei Xuanquan. I don't know where he came from, but his martial skills are also very good. When he fought just now, although he only used one move, each move was very brilliant and profound. Qin Diren is usually extravagant and has many good friends. He definitely has a great background and is definitely not an ordinary person. Everyone was discussing Qin Diren on the stage. Little brother Yun, I know the whereabouts of the Grand Preceptor, Qin Diren said softly as he passed by Qin Yun. When Qin Yun heard this, he was shocked. However, after saying that, Qin Diren quickly walked to the side of the battling platform. He was dozens of meters away from Qin Yun. Begin. An old man shouted. The competition had begun. Qin Yun felt uneasy because of Qin Diren's words. Only when he saw Qin Diren rushing over did he regain his senses. Qin Diren's attack was not that fierce, so he easily dodged the punch. Brother, where is the Grand Preceptor? Qin Yun asked softly as he dodged to the side. In King Qin's mansion, Qin Diren replied. Then, he unhurriedly sent a palm strike towards Qin Yun, allowing Qin Yun to easily dodge it. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. He finally knew the whereabouts of the Grand Preceptor. Let's exchange palms. I will deliberately fall off the stage to let you win. Your potential is astonishing. You must strive to enter the Heavenly Lion Lake and become stronger as soon as possible to overthrow the Empress forces. King Qin's mansion is on your side. Qin Diren said in a low voice. The Emperor has gone berserk in his cultivation and is already crippled. The Empress and her group have already controlled the entire empire. Qin Yun was alarmed. He had never known about the Emperor's affairs. Come, Qin Diren said in a low voice. When everyone saw how slow Qin Diren was fighting, they were all puzzled. Qin Diren should be doing this on purpose. From the looks of it, he wants to tease Qin Yun. That's right. It's just like a cat catching a mouse. After playing enough, I'll finish him off in one move. Look, Qin Diren is getting serious. Someone suddenly shouted. When Qin Yun saw Qin Diren rushing over, he hurriedly struck out with his palm. He followed Qin Diren's instructions and did not circulate too much inner qi. He struck out with his palm. The moment his palm approached Qin Diren's palm, he suddenly felt a strong surge of inner qi surging out from the other party's body. I've been tricked by him. Qin Yun was immediately alarmed and infuriated. He also saw a cunning look flash across Qin Diren's eyes. He was immediately certain that he had been deceived by Qin Diren. In the instant that Qin Yun was alarmed and infuriated, he hurriedly circulated the inner qi of the dual elemental energies and gathered it in his arm. He wanted to protect his arm to prevent it from being crippled. However, the time was too short. He could only circulate a small portion of his inner qi to his arm. Bang! The two palms collided, producing an explosive sound. Qin Yun was forced back more than 10 steps. His face revealed a look of pain as blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. His inner qi was too weak and was far from being Qin Diren's match. Qin Diren's palm strike contained an extremely strong cold qi, causing his arm to be sealed. At the same time, his internal organs were also shaken to the point of pain. Qin Yun secretly blamed himself. I was too careless. Just as he was about to admit defeat, Qin Diren suddenly laughed out loud and suddenly charged forward. His fist that was brimming with inner qi ruthlessly struck at Qin Yun's abdomen. Everyone let out a cry of surprise. Everyone could tell that the power of this punch was extremely great. It was enough to heavily injure Qin Yun's dantian. Qin Yun, you can't beat the Empress. Go to hell. Qin Diren's face was filled with pride. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness as he punched Qin Yun in the abdomen again. Aff! Cousin, you're amazing. Looks like Brother Kuan doesn't have to do anything. Not far from the martial stage, Yen Yun laughed tenderly. Her beautiful face was filled with viciousness. Has this fellow's inner yuan been crippled? Cripple him and get him out of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. A fellow from the same lineage, if we say it out loud, we will lose face for our Hua Ling Wu Academy. Qin Yun was suddenly enlightened. Qin Diren and Yen Yun were in cahoots. King Qin's mansion had already joined forces with the Empress. If Qin Diren crippled him, he would definitely be rewarded handsomely by the Empress. After he understood, a wave of anger suddenly surged into his heart and fused into his inner qi. The furious inner qi roared within his body. How despicable, I'm still too young. Qin Yun's fist trembled from the impact of the furious inner qi. His heart was extremely cold. Fortunately, the inner qi is fine. It's the vibration martial art that protects the dantian and blasts away the inner qi that attacks the dantian. Everyone sighed inwardly. They thought that Qin Yun was so injured that he was unable to admit defeat. He was destined to be ruthlessly ravaged by his opponent. Qin Diren walked over and said with a sneer, "You only have one bloodline. Just be a mediocre person." He raised his leg that was surrounded by inner qi and kicked. At the same time, he shouted, "Scram out of the Hua Ling Wu Academy." Just as Qin Diren raised his leg, the heavily injured Qin Yun's body began to tremble violently. His bones emitted a series of explosive sounds as he punched out with monstrous rage. After the angry fist was punched out, it exploded with a bright light. The fist was like a red-hot iron, bringing with it a scorching wave of air as it struck towards Qin Diren's abdomen. Chapter 28. Blue Sword. Qin Diren's eyes were stung by the intense light released by the flame-light fist. His vision turned red and he couldn't see anything. He didn't have time to dodge. Qin Yun's flame-light fist was domineering and scorching. It roared out as a wave of fire enveloped Qin Diren. Boom! Qin Diren's abdomen was heavily struck by the angry fist. A burst of flames burst out and spread throughout his body. Like a fireball, he flew out of the battling platform and landed on the ground, rolling and screaming. A few teachers rushed over to extinguish the flames with shocked expressions. Qin Yun slowly stood up, his fist still emitting flames. After taking a deep breath, he glanced at Yen Yun, as though telling her that her fate would be the same. A moment ago, Yen Yun had a complacent smile on her face. But now, she was speechless. She hurriedly looked at Wei Xuanquan, who was not far away. She only hoped that Wei Xuanquan could completely cripple Qin Yun. Qin Diren, the eldest son of the king of Qin, is only SOSO. Qin Yun looked at the dying Qin Diren and sneered. Qin Diren was actually the son of the king of Qin. Everyone finally knew of Qin Diren's background and were extremely surprised. However, they were even more shocked by Qin Yun's strength. He had actually defeated such a person. This time, Qin Yun had not defeated an ordinary disciple. He was a disciple of a famous sect. That was the eldest son of the king of Qin. This time, Qin Yun did not win as easily as before. He seemed to be seriously injured. Of course, Qin Diren's injuries were even more severe. If he did not recuperate for 3 to 5 years, he would not be able to recover. During the martial arts competition, injuries were unavoidable. Over the years, young students with good aptitude had been crippled because of this. Everyone was no longer surprised. Qin Yun won again. Even someone at the 5th level of the martial body realm is not his match, let alone someone at the 4th level of the martial body realm. Is he at the 4th level of the martial body realm? This is too terrifying. Everyone had the same question. This kind of strength did not make sense. At this moment, many people did not underestimate Qin Yun as much as before. Qin Yun was injured by Qin Diren. Even if he can enter the finals, he will not be able to defeat Wei Xuanquan. It's hard to say now because Teacher Yang is here. She might be able to help Qin Yun recover. While everyone was discussing, they saw Yang Shiyu walk in from the entrance of the hall and hurriedly made way. When Yang Shiyu arrived, she saw that Qin Yun's footsteps were unsteady as he slowly walked down the stage. It was obvious that he was injured. This caused her to be extremely anxious, and she hurriedly executed her supreme movement technique. With a light leap, she soared into the sky and flew towards the arena. Yang Shiyu's simple white dress overflowed with a sparkling and translucent mist. Accompanying the light dance of her dress, she was gentle and agile, like a fairy descending to the mortal world, beautiful beyond compare. Such a beauty made everyone gasp in admiration. Yang Shiyu flew hundreds of meters in the air and gracefully landed beside Qin Yun. She hurriedly supported him. Her cold voice carried a hint of gentleness as she said softly, "Why are you so heavily injured? I told you not to force yourself." As she spoke, she hurriedly channeled a gentle and pure inner force into Qin Yun's body to help him sort out his internal injuries. Some of the male students were extremely jealous when they saw how gentle and concerned Yang Shiyu was towards Qin Yun. "I was careless and fell into a trap." Qin Yun briefly explained the situation to Yang Shiyu, causing her to feel infuriated. On the other side, Wei Xuanquan had already won, and it was an easy victory. At this point in the competition, there were still 4 people left. In the next round, the 2 winners would be able to proceed to the finals. And from the current situation, other than Wei Xuanquan, the other 3 had suffered varying degrees of injuries. 2 of the more seriously injured students, their teachers had decided to withdraw from the competition. This was because even if he won another match, he would not be able to defeat the final Wei Xuanquan. "Qin Yun and Wei Xuanquan, you will be in the finals." Principal Zhang walked to Qin Yun's side and advised, "It's not too late to decide to withdraw from the competition." Qin Yun had suffered quite a bit of injuries from his duel with Qin Diren earlier. Furthermore, he was only at the 4th level martial body realm. To be able to reach this step in the Heavenly Lion martial meet was enough to be proud of. No! Qin Yun's face was filled with determination. His elemental energy was not injured, but his arms and body were in pain. He had already come this far, he could not give up. Remember, if you feel like you can't hold on, don't try to be brave. Yang Shi-yu's voice was extremely stern, but her eyes were filled with gentleness. As Yang Shi-yu channeled her inner force into Qin Yun's body, his injuries recovered quite well. He took a deep breath and quickly walked towards the largest dueling platform in the Heavenly Lion Hall. In the Heavenly Lion Hall, Wei Xuanquan stood proudly on the martial stage in the middle. When he saw how intimate Qin Yun and a beauty like Yang Shi-yu were, he could not help but feel jealous. His eyes were filled with viciousness. When he saw Qin Yun come up, he gritted his teeth and said, "Qin Yun, I will completely destroy you and make you a piece of trash in Yang Shi-yu's eyes. I admit that you possess the purple gold fire martial spirit and your strength is comparable to the 5th level of the martial body realm. However, against me you have no chance of winning." As Wei Xuanquan spoke, one of his old servants threw a sword up from below the battling platform. After he received the sword, he said loudly, "This sword was forged by my father. It's called the Kunlun sword. It's a low-grade spirit artifact and is worth 500,000 crystal coins. I, Wei Xuanquan, have always respected the strong. Qin Yun is younger than me and his cultivation is not as high as mine. If he can win today, I am willing to give him my beloved sword." With that, he walked to the side of the battling platform and placed the sword there. He looked at Qin Yun and said proudly, "Qin Yun, if you defeat me, take this sword away yourself." This was a low-grade spirit weapon, and Wei Xuanquan was only at the 5th level of the martial body realm, yet he possessed such a sharp weapon. The people below the battling platform looked at the Kunlun sword and sucked in a deep breath of cold air. Their faces were filled with envy and surprise. The son of an inscription grandmaster was indeed different. He possessed a precious spirit artifact at such a young age. Many of the students present came from famous sects, but they could only envy spirit artifacts. When Yen Yun saw the envious expressions on the students' faces, she smiled proudly and said, "Brother Kun has many spirit-level martial skills. They are much stronger than the trash that Qin Yun has mastered. The 5th level of the martial body mainly trains inner force. Brother Kun can transform qi into power, far surpassing other 5th-level martial artists." Transforming qi into power meant that he had reached the middle stage of the 5th level of the martial body realm and was half a step into the 6th level of the martial body realm. The people who had lost to Wei Xuanquan were originally unconvinced, but after hearing Yen Yun's words, they had no choice but to admit defeat. This was because they were unable to condense inner force. Now, everyone felt that the outcome of the battle was decided. This was because Qin Yun was facing a martial artist who was close to the 6th level of the martial body realm. Heavenly Lion Martial Meet, the duel begins now. Principal Zhang personally presided over it. He also believed that Qin Yun had no chance of winning. He only hoped that Qin Yun would not be too seriously injured. Wei Xuanquan stood on the spot as his blue clothes fluttered. A faint golden mist seeped out and surrounded his entire body, forming a barrier of air. Chapter 29. Shocking Breakthrough. Qin Yun, I'll give you 2 moves. Wei Xuanquan smiled proudly and said, "Today, I'll let you experience what a true martial arts genius is. Attack me." When Qin Yun heard that, he immediately used the galloping cloud footwork and rushed in front of Wei Xuanquan. With a punch, light exploded and flames surged. Whoosh! Qin Yun's fist landed on Wei Xuanquan's Vajra barrier, producing a gust of wind. The inner qi he had struck out inexplicably dissipated, as if it had hit a stiff rock. The senior students below instantly burst into laughter. "With your weak inner qi, it's impossible for you to shake the Vajra barrier that he released with his inner qi. You really overestimate yourself. The flaming light fist is not bad, but your cultivation is too weak." The older students mocked. Qin Yun took a few steps back and used his qi explosion technique. After punching out, his inner qi exploded. Boom! The fist smashed into the qi cover, causing a gust of wind to erupt. Although the qi cover fluctuated a little, Wei Xuanquan was still unharmed. This was within everyone's expectations. It would be a miracle if Qin Yun could move it. It's really strong. Qin Yun hurriedly distanced himself from Wei Xuanquan. If he were to be hit, it would be troublesome. You want to run? Wei Xuanquan smiled and said, You won't have the chance. His figure flashed, leaving behind afterimages as he caught up to Qin Yun in the blink of an eye. It's the wind treading steps, a high-grade spirit level. No, there's also the swallow step. Wei Xuanquan is truly a genius. He has actually perfectly combined two movement techniques. Cui Hui's eyes lit up as she praised loudly. When she saw that Yang Shiyu's expression was even more serious than before, she could not help but laugh heartily. The martial skills that Wei Xuanquan had mastered were even more enviable. He actually possessed two high-grade spirit-level movement techniques. For most people, it was difficult to obtain a movement technique of this level. Brother Kun will definitely win. If he enters the Celestial Lion Lake again, he will definitely be at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Forging a spirit artifact is just around the corner. When the time comes, he will give me one. Yen Yun smiled proudly, causing many female students to be extremely envious. Qin Yun, quickly admit defeat. Yang Shiyu suddenly shouted when she saw that the situation was bad. There's no more chance. After Wei Xuanquan caught up to Qin Yun, he laughed loudly. His palm slashed down, causing a sonic boom. It's the high-tier spirit-level wave breaker palm. Bam! Although Qin Yun dodged, his left shoulder was still struck. It was lacerating in pain. Bang! Wei Xuanquan's speed was simply too fast. In the blink of an eye, he struck out with his palm, knocking Qin Yun to the ground. Then, he quickly released a wave of inner force that left his body. It pressed down heavily and enveloped Qin Yun, preventing him from moving. Admit defeat? There's no more chance, I'll end you. Wei Xuanquan laughed sinisterly. Yang Shiyue was about to rush forward, but she was stopped by Cui Hui, a few elders, and many teachers. She was unable to take another step forward. Dean, Qin Yun has already admitted defeat. Yang Shiyue shouted angrily. He didn't admit defeat himself. This is how cruel it is on the battling platform. Cui Hui shouted loudly. Yang Shiyue, don't break the rules of our Hua Ling Wu Academy. Qin Yun was suppressed by the inner force to the point that he could not move, but he did not give up resisting. The elemental energy in his dantian suddenly spun rapidly, shining with light. The inner qi within his elemental energy surged like a giant beast out of the sea, emitting a deep and powerful roar. Qin Yun, this is the difference between you and me. Don't blame me. The competition on the path of martial arts is just this cruel. Accept your fate. Wei Xuanquan sneered loudly. With a wave of his palm, the power of the wave breaker palm rippled out. Suddenly, a purplish gold mist surged out from Qin Yun's body. It let out a soul-shaking howl like the roar of a dragon. This. Impossible. Principal Zhang's narrowed eyes suddenly widened as he looked at Qin Yun in shock. It must be a lie, this aura. Impossible, absolutely impossible. When Cui Hui saw it, she kept shaking her head and muttering to herself. He's only 15 years old, how is that possible? An old man exclaimed. Is this true? Yang Shiyue was also stunned as she exclaimed. All the students looked at each other in dismay. What was going on? Wei Xuanquan turned pale with fright. Such a terrifying power made him feel fear. The purplish gold mist on Qin Yun's body continued to fluctuate like wave. Following that, a vast wave of inner qi surged out from his elemental energy, surging throughout his body like a tidal wave. Break! Qin Yun suddenly shouted. His body trembled as his bones vibrated like thunder. Purplish gold energy surged out like a storm, forcing Wei Xuankuan to take a few steps back. Inner qi leaving the body is like a violent storm. This is the phenomenon of breaking through to the 5th level of the martial body realm. An old man cried out involuntarily, "Qin Yun, he has stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm." What? Qin Yun had broken through? The freshmen and seniors were so shocked that their hearts churned like a raging tide. They were filled with jealousy and envy. Qin Yun had entered the Hua Ling Wu Academy for less than a month, yet he had already stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm. This was something that had never happened before in history. Wei Xuankuan was also shocked beyond belief. He had been in the Hua Ling Wu Academy for almost 2 years and had only stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm. As for the Qin Yun in front of him, it had not even been a month. To break through from the 4th level of the martial body realm to the 5th level in such a short period of time was something that had never happened before in the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Only in the high-level martial arts academies would there be such a monster. However, it was also very rare. What was a true martial arts genius? This was it. After Qin Yun stood up, the ferocious inner qi around him that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws was instantly absorbed into his body. He could freely withdraw his inner qi. His control over his inner qi had already reached a level where he could do as he pleased. This caused the hearts of the seniors to tremble. Qin Yun's footwork was no longer the galloping cloud footwork. Instead, it was the even faster flashing cloud footwork. In just 2 moments, he had arrived beside Wei Xuankuan, who was more than 20 meters away. With such a fast speed, Wei Xuankuan was unable to dodge at all. However, he had the Vajra barrier on his body. Even if he knew that Qin Yun's fist was coming at him, he was not worried. Qin Yun's flaming light fist was even more violent than before. The red fist was like a flaming tiger as it soared into the sky, riding the wind and breaking through the waves as it collided with the Vajra barrier. Boom! An explosive sound surged in all directions with the wind, breaking through the Vajra barrier and striking Wei Xuankuan's chest. The clothes on Wei Xuankuan's upper body were torn apart and his skin cracked. Blood spurted out of his mouth as he took a few steps back. You dare to hurt me?" Wei Xuankuan said angrily. He was the son of a great inscription master. No one had ever dared to treat him like this. Why wouldn't I dare? Qin Yun had already arrived beside Wei Xuankuan. His tightly clenched fists were as red as hot iron as they enveloped Wei Xuankuan like a violent storm. The 5th level of inner qi caused the flaming light fist to be as wild as a fire beast. When it landed on Wei Xuankuan's body, sparks flew out. Bang! Bang! Qin Yun did not show any mercy. His fists were like a ferocious beast that had lost control as they roared and charged forward. They were ferocious and fierce. Every time Wei Xuankuan's body was punched, everyone's heart would skip a beat. Chapter 30. Wind Slasher Incantation, the son of a Grandmaster of Inscriptions? Martial arts genius? You've lost all face for your father. Go back and train for another 3 years. Qin Yun sneered as his fist, which was surging with flames, charged at Wei Xuankuan. Whoosh! Waves of air surged as Wei Xuankuan was sent flying by the violent waves, crashing into a wall in the distance. Wei Xuankuan has lost, Qin Yun has won. Principal Zhang was stunned as he shouted. Cui Hui, Yan Yun, and a few teachers hurriedly ran over to check on Wei Xuankuan's injuries. They hurriedly took out a few precious pills and gave them to Wei Xuankuan to swallow. Qin Yun quickly walked to the side of the dueling platform and picked up the blue sword. Everyone was dumbstruck by what had just happened. Qin Yun had really won. Furthermore, He had broken through at a critical moment and stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm. Qin Yun, you're finished. How dare you injure Brother Kuan? His father will not let you off. Yan Yun walked over and shouted angrily. Wei Xuankuan was supported by a teacher, but he did not faint. Humph, why is it that he can injure me and I can't injure him? Qin Yun laughed loudly and said, the dueling platform is that cruel. Only cowards would let their own women and father stand up for them after losing. You! Yan Yun looked at the sword in Qin Yun's hand and stomped her feet in anger. Little Yun, quickly go and retrieve the sword. The injured and weak Wei Xuankuan said anxiously in a low voice. Not only was he injured and defeated, he had even given away his low-grade spirit weapon. Wei Xuankuan had lost all face. Qin Yun, do you still remember? When I was young, you came to my birthday. At that time, you said that you could promise me one thing. Yan Yun gritted her teeth and said, you are a man. Now, fulfill the promise you made. Promise me that you will give me the blue sword in your hand. Yan Yun was Qin Yun's cousin. When they were young, she had said it as a joke, but now, she had brought it up. Everyone snickered in their hearts. Who would hand over such a precious spirit artifact just because of a childhood joke? Qin Yun frowned. In his childhood, he had indeed had a good relationship with Yan Yun. However, after losing his power, his childhood playmates had turned against him, making him feel very helpless. All right, I promise you. Qin Yun's words were beyond everyone's expectations. Yang Shi suddenly wanted to say something, but she did not say anything. She also thought that Qin Yun would not agree. After all, no one would laugh at him. Wei Xuankuan was the one to be ridiculed. Qin Yun pulled out the blue sword from its scabbard. His hands felt like they were burning red as he grabbed the sword's blade and twisted it forcefully. Dang! With a crisp sound, the Kuan Lan sword was broken just like that. Many people were extremely astounded by this scene, and the hall fell into silence once more. Hee, something refined by an inscription grandmaster is actually so fragile. It's fine if you don't want it. Qin Yun smiled and threw the broken sword at Yan Yun's feet. When he saw the spirit patterns on the sword and heard the sword hum when it was unsheathed, he knew that this was an extremely inferior spirit sword. Then, he tested it and it really broke. Wei Xuankuan looked at the broken sword, his face ashen. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood and fainted. A lower-grade spirit weapon was actually broken just like that. Everyone could not help but wonder if this sword was forged by an inscription grandmaster. Qin Yun, you will die a horrible death. Cui Hui stomped her feet in anger and roared. Then, she hurriedly supported Wei Xuankuan and left. Yan Yun was already scared out of her wits by Qin Yun's strength as she followed behind Cui Hui. Wei Xuankuan was incomparably powerful in her heart, but right now, he had been defeated by the person she hated the most. Qin Yun had won a complete victory and had even broken through to the 5th level of the martial body realm. This made everyone present sigh with emotion. They had personally witnessed Qin Yun obtaining first place. After the martial arts competition ended, 2 burly men carried up a turntable. This is for the lottery. If you win, you can participate in the lottery once. Normally, one lottery will cost 10,000 crystal coins. Principal Zhang said with a smile, spin the wheel. When it stops, you will be able to get whatever the pointer points to. Qin Yun looked at the rewards on the wheel and cursed inwardly. There were dozens of rewards on the wheel, but they were all miscellaneous items, such as clothes and shoes. Only the cultivation technique called Wind Slasher Art was a good item. The Wind Slasher Art is a high-grade spirit-level martial skill. It can be used directly with one's hands and can also be used with sabers and axes. Yang Shi walked over and sighed. I heard that no one has been able to draw out the Wind Slasher Art for many years. Suddenly, a lot of curses could be heard from below. I've played with this before. You cheated me of 20,000 crystal coins and got a broken bowl. I played 30,000 and got a lousy belt. I've been tricked badly too. Qin Yun secretly despised the Hualing Wu Academy. He had used this wheel to swindle a lot of crystal coins. I'll give it a try. He walked over, circulated his weak inner qi, and then gently moved the wheel. After the pointer spun a few times, it slowly came to a stop, getting closer and closer to the wind slasher art. Everyone had originally thought that it was impossible for Qin Yun to obtain anything good. However, the pointer had stopped at the wind slasher art. Everyone was dumbfounded. This was too lucky. Even Yang Shiryu felt that it was a little strange. Qin Yun's first time playing had actually gotten the best one. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. In fact, he had used his vibrating inner qi to fluctuate the wheel. Then, he had used his mental energy to control the weak vibrating inner qi to dissipate. Originally, he only wanted to give it a try, but he didn't expect that he would be able to control it so accurately. This is your prize. Principal Zhang seemed to have discovered something, but he did not say anything else. He handed over a book. Qin Yun flipped through it. There were no annotations on it. It belonged to him, so there was no need for him to return it. He could read it slowly in the future. Please enter the Celestial Lion Lake. Principal Zhang shouted loudly before walking towards a door in the hall. Qin Yun handed the wind slasher art to Yang Shiryu and asked her to add some note. Then, he followed behind Principal Zhang. Yang Shiryu gave a few reminders before watching Qin Yun and Principal Zhang enter the Celestial Lion Lake. She was rather happy, but her heart could not help but feel heavy. The main reason was that he felt that there were more and more forces that wanted to deal with Qin Yun. If Qin Yun were to leave the Hualing Wu Academy, he would definitely be in danger. Qin Yun followed behind Principal Zhang and walked towards a golden door on the east side of the Heavenly Lion Hall. The door was filled with the carvings of a ferocious lion. It was filled with an ancient and mysterious aura. Beside these two doors, there were two ferocious golden lion statues. They were lifelike, mighty and mighty. After Principal Zhang opened the door, he saw a long and spacious corridor that stretched as far as the eye could see. The two walls and the floor of the corridor seemed to be made of golden brick. They were carved with all sorts of ferocious lions. On the two walls there were 2 rows of golden lion heads. The lion heads were very large, and when they opened their mouths, golden flames shot out from their mouths, illuminating the 2 walls of the corridor with a divine aura. When everyone saw Qin Yun follow Principal Zhang in, they revealed looks of yearning and envy. The Celestial Lion Lake was incomparably mysterious. Those who entered and came out would have a great future in the future. They would definitely become powerful martial artists. 5 years ago, he was stripped of his position as Crown Prince and had 4 spirit veins taken away. Everyone believed that he would not live past the age of 16. But now, he has actually entered the Celestial Lion Lake. The Heavenly Lion's spring water can only be concocted after 5 years. It can only be found and not sought. Not everyone has the chance to enter. I heard that the Heavenly Lion's spring water is extremely violent. A martial artist at the 5th level of the martial body realm would have to crawl out after staying in there for a day. Qin Yun has just stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm and has yet to cultivate any inner force. At most, he can only last half a day, right? Everyone was envious and emotional as they talked about the legends of the Celestial Lion Lake. Yang Shiryu looked at Qin Yun's back as her thoughts ran wild. She knew very well that Qin Yun had suffered a lot in order to enter the Celestial Lion Lake. Qin Yun had been mocked and ridiculed by others for the past few years. He had cultivated regardless of the rain or shine. Even if he had to crawl on the great Tao of martial. He would never give up. Only those with such willpower were worthy of entering the Celestial Lion Lake. Bang! Chapter 31. Lion Spring Body Tempering. After the door closed, Principal Zhang said with a smile, "Qin Yun, your control over your inner qi is not bad." Principal Zhang was dressed in gray and looked like a small old man. However, he was very strong. Qin Yun's small actions of playing with the wheel could not be hidden from his experienced and knowledgeable old eyes. "Principal, I didn't break the rules, did I?" Qin Yun stuck out his tongue. He was somewhat worried that his second martial spirit would be exposed. No. Even if it's against the rules, I will still give you the Wind Slasher incantation." Principal Zhang laughed loudly and said, "You are indeed a rare genius. You are much better than that new crown prince. I was planning to stop Wei Xuanquan just now, but I didn't expect you to break through. This is truly surprising." Qin Yun said gratefully, "Thank you for your kindness, Principal." Principal Zhang stopped in his tracks, turned around and asked with a serious expression, "How much do you know about your royal father?" Qin Yun immediately frowned. Did father really go berserk? Principal Zhang's expression was filled with bewilderment as he asked, "Who did you hear it from?" "Qin Diren." Qin Yun told Principal Zhang about his duel with Qin Diren. When Principal Zhang heard this, he sternly reprimanded, "The king of Qin has always wanted to usurp the throne, that's why he was sent far away. You actually believed his son's nonsense. After all these years, haven't you grown up yet?" Qin Yun did not know where this Principal Zhang came from, but he seemed to be quite concerned about him. He nodded and said in a low voice, "I was careless. I will definitely be careful in the future." Principal Zhang let out a long sigh and continued walking forward. He said, "A few years ago, your royal father made a mistake when he tried to break through to the martial Dao realm and went berserk. He is no longer in the palace. He is hiding in the dark to heal his injuries. However, in the Tianqin Imperial Palace, many old officials believe that he is finished, especially the Empress and the others. They are in a hurry to ascend the throne." Qin Yun had previously blamed his father. Now, he knew that his father was unable to protect him because he had encountered great difficulties. This made his emotions extremely complicated. Don't think too much about it now. Just focus on improving your strength. There are many people from the Empress in the Hua Ling Wu Academy, but with me here, you don't have to be afraid of them. Principal Zhang walked to the end, opened a door carved with a golden lion, and said, "Go in, inside is the Celestial Lion Pool. Remember, soak in the pool. If you can't stand it, come out immediately. Don't force yourself." The stone room where the Celestial Lion Pond was located was very simple and crude, just like a cave. It was a huge contrast to the luxurious decorations outside. The interior wasn't big, and the walls were all lit up by white flames. In the middle, there was a 2-meter-wide square pool. The water inside was like blood, bubbling as if it was boiling. "I'll wait for you outside." Principal Zhang patted Qin Yun's shoulder. "Remember, if you can't take it, come out quickly." Qin Yun nodded and walked in nervously and excitedly. After the door closed, he hurriedly took off his clothes and stepped into the mysterious Heavenly Lion Lake. As soon as he entered the pool, he let out a low moan because of the heat. When he circulated his inner qi throughout his body, he felt nothing. How was the Celestial Lion Pool formed? Qin Yun scooped up some red water with his hand, but he could not figure it out. Suddenly, he felt a scorching energy quickly enter his body and seep into his flesh and bones. It was unbelievable. Teacher told me before that in the Celestial Lion Pool, I have to open up all the meridians in my body as much as possible. He immediately closed his eyes and relaxed his body, allowing the boiling energy to flow through his body. There were many meridians in the human body, which were equivalent to the channels through which inner qi flowed. However, many meridians were blocked for a variety of reasons. Normally, it would be difficult to detect the blockage, nor would it have any effect. However, if he wanted his inner qi to quickly circulate throughout his body, he would need to open up all of them. After opening up all the meridians, he would be able to quickly spread his inner chi throughout his body. He would be able to quickly nourish his flesh and bones, toughen his body and strengthen his soul. In the late stage of the martial body realm, the most important thing was to cultivate his body. Only when his body was strong enough would he be able to bear the power of the great Tao and step into the martial Tao realm. Therefore, in the later stages of cultivating the martial body, one would gradually feel that because of the blocked meridians, it would be difficult to cultivate a perfect martial body. It would have a great impact on stepping into the martial Tao realm. At that time, it would be too late to forcefully open his meridians. It doesn't hurt and it's very comfortable. Qin Yun felt as if he was soaking in hot water with just the right temperature. He did not experience the legendary pain. The warm current that entered his body quickly spread throughout his body and flowed to every part of his body. This warm stimulation made him feel that it was the most comfortable enjoyment he had ever had in his life. If this goes on, I will definitely be able to connect all my meridians. He could clearly feel that his flesh and blood were being nourished and tempered, especially in terms of blood energy. The requirements for an inscription master's physique were extremely high. He had learned from the books that when inscribing runes, he needed a strong enough amount of blood energy, mental strength, and inner force. When the three of them were compatible, they could form the power of the blood soul. Then, he would condense it on the carving knife to inscribe runes. If he wanted to refine something with an attribute, he would need to fuse the power of various martial spirits into it. It was extremely complicated. With the speed at which my elemental energy is spinning, it should be enough to condense inner force. Once I leave, I will start learning the inscriptions. Qin Yun had already made up his mind. Although he possessed the 9 Yang divine spirit, he was still lacking in resources. Furthermore, he had 2 martial spirits and needed to nurture 2 elemental energies. He had to earn more resources himself. Principal Zhang was waiting outside the stone door. After waiting for an entire day, Qin Yun did not come out. This made him secretly anxious. That was because, according to his expectations, it should be about time for him to come out. He could only continue waiting, not trusting anyone else to guard him. In the blink of an eye, another few days passed. It's been 7 days. Outside the door, Principal Zhang sighed with a face full of shock. Other people can only stay in the Celestial Lion Lake for 2 or 3 days at most. Qin Yun hasn't come out for 7 days. What an evil fellow. He would release his mental energy tomorrow to detect Qin Yun's exuberant life force. Otherwise, he would have rushed in long ago. Principal, Teacher Yang is here again. A black-clothed old man walked in and said, "She's very anxious. She wants to see you." Principal Zhang's eyes lit up as he said, "Let her in." "Yes, sir." After the black-clothed old man left, he quickly brought Yang Shiryu in and left. "Principal, is Qin Yun still inside?" Yang Shiryu said with a frown. She had been very worried for the past 7 days. Principal Zhang nodded and said, "Teacher Yang, Qin Yun's condition is very good. His life force is exuberant. You don't have to worry about him. It's good that you're here now. Help me wait for him here. I still have a lot of things to take care of." "Alright." Yang Shiryu also used her mental energy to probe. Indeed, when she sensed Qin Yun's exuberant life force, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 32. Heavenly Lion Totem. Yang Shiryu replaced President Zhang and waited patiently outside the door, constantly paying attention to Qin Yun's life force. For Qin Yun to be able to soak in the Heavenly Lion Lake for so many days, it meant that he had immense potential. This made her secretly pleasantly surprised. Another 3 days passed. Qin Yun soaked in the Heavenly Lion Lake for a total of 10 days. On the 10th day, Qin Yun finally crawled out of the Celestial Lion Lake. He looked back at the pool. The water was originally blood red, but now it was very clear. How many days have passed? I actually fell asleep. It was too comfortable for him to soak in, and he slept very soundly. If people knew that he slept in the Celestial Lion Lake for 10 days, no one would believe it. Everyone knew how terrifying the Heavenly Lion Lake was. This was because the Heavenly Lion Lake had another nickname, the Heavenly Lion Devil Lake. In the history of the Hua Ling Wu Academy, there were a few students who couldn't stand the pain and fainted in the pool. Even their bones were melted away. Qin Yun picked up his clothes, and just as he was about to put them on, he suddenly discovered that there are many purple-gold patterns on his left arm. Furthermore, they look very familiar. He took a closer look and was shocked. He shouted in a low voice, "This is Heavenly Lion Totem?" The reason why he found it familiar was because when he passed through the Celestial Lion Corridor, there were many similar Celestial Lion Totems on the walls and the ground. Isn't it just a bath and a nap? Fortunately, it's not ugly. Qin Yun touched it with his hand, and it looked like it was growing out of his skin. He was extremely puzzled. He did not know what effect the Heavenly Lion Totem would have on him. Whatever, if I'm discovered, I'll just say that I tattooed it myself. He was worried that if he were to reveal the truth, people would think that he was evil and say that he was cultivating evil arts or something. What he didn't know was that he had been soaking in the Celestial Lion Lake for 10 days. This in itself was a very strange thing. After Qin Yun put on his clothes, he inspected the results of soaking in the Heavenly Lion Pool. With a thought, he controlled his inner yuan to spin quickly. The released inner qi passed through all his meridians and instantly flowed into his limbs and bones. Great, my meridians have all been opened. He smiled in satisfaction. His meridians were all unblocked, and he could circulate his qi smoothly. His inner qi could flow as he wished. If they were in a battle, they would have the upper hand. Furthermore, his body had been tempered by the Heavenly Lion's spring water and had become even tougher. I can use the fire cloud steps in an instant. He then tried his Qigong and was able to quickly circulate his Qigong inner qi. What made him most excited was that when his inner yuan spun rapidly, it could release inner strength that was like silk thread. Is this the inner force? I actually managed to cultivate it just like that. Qin Yun was still pondering about getting Yang Shiyue to teach him how to cultivate inner force. Cultivating inner force meant that he could carve inscriptions and begin learning the Tao of inscription refining. Yang Shiyue was outside the Celestial Lion Lake. Her beautiful face was filled with worry as she anxiously paced back and forth. Suddenly, the stone door of the Celestial Lion Lake opened. Qin Yun, who was in high spirits, had just walked out the door when he suddenly smelled a fragrant wind. It was a fragrance that he was familiar with. When Yang Shiyue saw the stone door open, she quickly walked over. She was wearing a simple yet elegant yellow dress, and there was a trace of worry in her bright eyes. Qin Yun thought that President Zhang was waiting for him here. Now that he saw Yang Shiyue, he was very happy. He looked around and asked, "Teacher, why are you here? Where is the dean? Are you all right?" Yang Shiyue frowned and asked anxiously. "Of course I'm fine. I've even cultivated inner force," Qin Yun said with a smug smile. Then, he opened his palm and forced out a faint purplish gold thread. When Yang Shiyue saw that trace of inner force, she was so shocked that waves surged in her heart. To be able to cultivate inner force was no small matter. It was equivalent to having half a foot into the 6th level of the martial body stage. "You little brat! What a freak!" Yang Shiyue was finally relieved. She could not help but smile like a flower as she said gently, "You've been inside for 10 days. Aren't you afraid of pain? The water of the Heavenly Lion Spring is as hot as molten iron. Most people can only last for a day." Qin Yun was also very surprised. "I didn't expect it to take 10 days. Is it painful?" "I didn't feel it. It's very comfortable. I fell asleep inside." "Comfortable? Furthermore, he had fallen asleep. Yang Shiryu was stunned. She was shocked and said in a low voice, "Let's go back and talk." Yang Shiryu brought Qin Yun and hurriedly left the Heavenly Lion Holy Land. In these 10 days, Qin Yun's astonishing performance at the Heavenly Lion martial meet had spread throughout the entire Tianqin Imperial City. The matter of him soaking in the Celestial Lion Lake for 10 days would also cause a huge sensation. In the Hua Ling Wu Academy, many people could only sigh inwardly because they all wanted to befriend Qin Yun. However, Qin Yun was not only a thorn in the side of the Empress, he had also formed a great enmity with Wei Xuanquan. Therefore, once he befriended Qin Yun, it meant that he would be opposing the Empress and Wei Xuanquan. Furthermore, not only had Qin Yun injured Wei Xuanquan, he had even broken the spirit sword forged by his father, Master Wei. This was undoubtedly a provocation to the Grandmaster inscription. Wei Xuanquan's father would definitely not let this matter rest. Everyone unanimously felt that once Qin Yun walked out of the Hua Ling Wu Academy, he would very likely be beaten to death. In the quiet and pleasant bamboo forest courtyard of the Hua Ling Wu Academy, Qin Yun sat beside a stone table in a pavilion. He spread out his palm and released his strongest inner force, allowing Yang Shiryu to test his strength. "Teacher, why am I fine even after soaking in the Celestial Lion Lake for 10 days? Qin Yun also found this inconceivable. Yang Shiryu said, "Although the Celestial Lion Lake is said to be spring water, it is actually refined from the blood of a mysterious lion beast. The Heavenly Lion spring water is of the fire attribute, and it is extremely likely that it is because you have the purple gold fire martial spirit, so you don't feel any pain." Qin Yun could only accept this explanation. Then, he asked, "Teacher, did you have something on the day of my duel?" At the mention of this matter, Yang Shiryu's face was filled with displeasure. She snorted and said, "It's still the same reason. Someone is playing tricks in the dark. They want to transfer me away and keep me away from you." Qin Yun immediately thought of the scheme of the Empress's group. Previously, Principal Zhang had hinted at this matter. Yang Shiryu was very angry. She snorted and said, "About a month after entering the academy, the Martial Arts Academy will arrange for the freshmen to go out to gain experience. Therefore, on the day of the Heavenly Lion martial meet, I went to the principal and asked him to allow our class to not go out. Unfortunately, it was ruined by a group of people. 2 elders firmly opposed it, saying that you have obtained so many resources and need to go out to gain experience to verify your strength. Furthermore, they told me to let go and let you join any class." When Qin Yun heard that he was going out, he felt a little expectant. He asked, "How many more days?" Yang Shiryu poured a cup of water for Qin Yun and said, "There are about 10 more days. With teacher accompanying you, your safety will be guaranteed. At that time, I will also be by your side." Qin Yun nodded and said, "Teacher, can you help me buy some talisman paper? Also, buy a carving knife." He took out 10 purple coins and handed them over. This was equivalent to 10,000 crystal coins. It was enough to buy quite a few blank talisman papers. The first step in learning inscriptions was to familiarize oneself with the inscription of spirit runes by crafting spirit talismans. The talisman paper had been soaked in the blood of demonic beasts and washed with spirit liquid. It contained spirit energy within. If runes were to be carved on the talisman paper, it would produce a strange effect. Chapter 33. The Power of the Blood Soul. Qin Yun scratched his head and said with a smile, "Teacher, I won't hide it from you. Back then, Big Sister Grand Preceptor taught me some inscriptions. I want to learn them now." Yang Shiryu was secretly delighted. She took Qin Yun's purple coins and nodded. "Since you have mastered the inscriptions, that's great. I'll go buy the materials for you now." When Qin Yun saw Yang Shiryu leave, he returned to his room and took out a scroll of bamboo slip. One of the scrolls was the 36 spirit inscriptions. He had practiced the spirit inscriptions inside for a period of time and was able to draw them with ease. Qin Yun carefully looked at the scroll of spirit inscriptions in his hand and pondered over them. He thought to himself, I've looked through the books and they all say that the more complex the spirit inscriptions are, the stronger they are. However, the spirit inscriptions on Wei Xuanquan's blue sword were only a few simple strokes, and the blue sword was also very weak. Could it be that the level of a spirit inscription master was at? Wei Xuanquan actually treats it as his lifeblood. More than 2 hours later, Yang Shiyu returned with a stack of paper and handed it to Qin Yun. 50 crystal coins each. There are a total of 100 here. In addition, the carving knife requires 5,000 crystal coins. Yang Shiyu placed a box in front of Qin Yun and asked in surprise, Can you really do it without anyone to guide you? Let's give it a try first. Qin Yun placed a piece of paper on the table and picked up the carving knife. The carving knife was like a pen, made of spirit copper. The tip of the knife was very small, only a small dot, and it emitted a dazzling cold light. The cylindrical hilt was engraved with strange spirit inscriptions that could smoothly absorb the power of the blood soul. To make talismans, it's better to use a pen to draw spirit inscriptions. Yang Shiyu said. She was not proficient in spirit inscriptions and only had a simple understanding of them. It's fine to use a carving knife to inscribe runes, but it's a test of skill. My ultimate goal is to forge artifacts, so it's best to use a carving knife to practice from the beginning. Qin Yun closed his eyes and recalled the spirit inscriptions he had practiced over the past few days. Previously, he had only used a pen to draw on paper, but now, he needed to force out his blood energy, fuse it with his mental and inner force, and then condense it on the tip of the carving knife. Yang Shiyu sat to the side, her jade-like hands supporting her cheeks. Her beautiful eyes were wide open as she looked at Qin Yun's inscription. When Qin Yun saw her like this, he could not help but feel happy. He didn't expect that the usually strict and cold teacher Yang would have such a cute side. He closed his eyes and prepared for a moment. Then, he opened his eyes and frowned. He focused and controlled his blood qi and spiritual force to enter his dantian and fuse with the inner force in his inner yuan. All the meridians in his body had been opened, and he could smoothly condense the power of the blood soul. A moment later, a drop of blood-red liquid overflowed from the carving knife he was holding. It was as red as fresh blood. When Yang Shiyu saw the drop of blood that contained pure energy, her beautiful face was filled with pleasant surprise. She hurriedly said, How did you do it? This is the power of a blood soul. Without the guidance of a master teacher, it would be difficult for me to fuse blood energy, psyche energy, and inner energy together. Even with the guidance of a master teacher, you still need to cultivate in this aspect. Qin Yun shook his head with a smile and said, I don't know how I managed to condense blood soul power. In short, he had succeeded naturally. It was just that he hadn't fully mastered it yet. Teacher, look, after the blood soul power entered the carving knife, it became very unstable. Yang Shiyu also saw that Qin Yun's hand was trembling non-stop. If this continued, he would not be able to inscribe spirit marks on the talisman paper. Qin Yun felt very helpless. He could only dissipate the power of the blood soul and said, I need some time to familiarize myself with it. I'm going back to my room to practice. Yang Shiyu looked at him encouragingly and patted his head. She chuckled and said, Work hard. With your perception, you will definitely succeed. In the next few days, I'll help you take a look at the wind slasher technique and annotate it so that you can understand it more easily and learn it more easily. Then I'll have to trouble teacher, Qin Yun said with a smile, then returned to his room to practice inscription. Back in his room, he quickly condensed the blood soul energy and injected it into the carving knife. However, his hands were still trembling, mainly because a large amount of blood soul power had entered the carving knife, and it was difficult for him to stabilize it. Qin Yun pondered and thought to himself, could it be that the power of the blood soul is too powerful? My inner strength is only condensed from fire elemental energy, and has yet to go through vibration elemental energy. He had stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm, and the vibration elemental energy was even deeper and more terrifying, so he would not easily use it. After a few more hours of trying, he finally found the reason. The main reason was that the condensed blood soul power was not gentle enough. Also, the blood chi, mental energy, and inner force were not uniform enough. Following that, he began to try again and again. Not long after, he found the balance point of the fusion, allowing the three to be even. At this moment, the sky was about to brighten. I'll go rest first. Condensing the power of the blood soul is really tiring. Qin Yun had broken through a difficult point and was very happy. He jumped onto the bed and quickly fell asleep. Although his sleep time was very short, he could quickly become spirited by absorbing the 9 suns' spiritual energy through the 9 yang divine spirit. As usual, as long as Yang Shiryu was here, he would be able to eat the delicious breakfast that his beautiful teacher had made for him every morning. Although these breakfasts could not bring him energy, they could give him a mental boost and make him even more motivated to cultivate. After breakfast, he hurried back to his room and continued practicing spirit inscriptions. I will definitely succeed today. Qin Yun was filled with confidence as he picked up the carving knife. Very quickly, he condensed a small bit of blood soul power on the tip of the knife and his hand became very stable. All right, let's start inscribing. Qin Yun was delighted. He steadily held the carving knife and began to carefully inscribe spirit inscriptions on the talisman paper. The tip of the knife did not need to touch the talisman paper. As long as the drop of blood soul power touched the talisman paper, it would be fine. Right now, Qin Yun was easily drawing spirit inscriptions on the white paper as if he was using a brush. Fire inscription, it's an attribute spirit inscription. The part I'm drawing right now is the part of the dark lines. Qin Yun recalled what he had learned from the books. The so-called dark lines were spirit inscriptions that would not appear when they were inscribed. If he was inscribing in front of many people, he could use the carving knife to release a light screen to block them. After the dark lines were inscribed, he could put away the light screen. The main purpose of the dark lines was to prevent them from being stolen. The dark lines look messy, but they are the most core and also the most difficult. After Qin Yun finished drawing the dark lines, he watched as the dark lines magically disappeared. Then, he began to draw the bright lines again. The bright lines were lines that could be seen. They were also relatively beautiful and were usually similar to patterns. The bright lines that Qin Yun had inscribed were like a cluster of raging flames. They were at each other's throats and had an imposing aura. When he looked at it seriously, he could not help but feel fear. He could feel the mysterious charm within the pattern. He looked at the bright lines that he had finished inscribing and could not help but sigh. Chapter 34. Fire Talisman. I've already succeeded. I didn't expect to succeed in one try. I seem to be very talented in this area. Qin Yun could not help but look at his wrist. The 9 yang divine spirit appeared from beneath his flesh and blood. He thought to himself, through the 9 suns' spiritual energy, the mental force I cultivate can make all aspects of my perception extremely high. The 9 yang divine spirit could now fuse with his body and hide. He was currently in the martial body realm, so he mainly cultivated his physique. When he stepped into the martial Tao realm, he would begin to cultivate his soul. At that time, it would be time to strengthen his mental strength. Let teacher see how my fire talisman is. Qin Yun took the fire talisman he had refined and ran out of the room. He was filled with a sense of accomplishment to be able to create a fire talisman. If he could get the praise of his beautiful teacher, he would be even happier. Yang Shiyu was seriously studying the wind slasher incantation. She did it in the hall so that she could know when Qin Yun came out. After Qin Yun walked out of the room, he saw Yang Shiyu in a blue dress. She held the wind slasher incantation in her lily-white hands and looked at it attentively. She frowned as if she was thinking about some difficult problem. Her serious appearance was very beautiful, causing Qin Yun to be intoxicated by it. "How's the progress?" Yang Shiyu asked softly, her beautiful eyes still focused on the wind slasher incantation. "Teacher, I've successfully refined a fire talisman. I just don't know how powerful it is." Qin Yun hurriedly handed the fire talisman over and said. Yang Shiyu was sitting on a chair and reading a book seriously. When she heard Qin Yun's words, she stood up abruptly with a face full of shock. She hurriedly took the fire talisman from Qin Yun. Her phoenix-like eyes lit up as she exclaimed, "What a complicated spirit inscription! This is the first time I've seen such a fire talisman. The spirit inscription that the female Grand Preceptor passed down to you must be of high quality and extremely rare. It seems like she discovered your talent in inscriptions back then." Spirit inscriptions were also divided into high, middle, and low grade. "I don't know." Qin Yun was indeed unaware of these matters. The scroll of 36 spirit inscriptions only had a simple name written on it. "Let's test its power." Yang Shiyu smiled sweetly. "Looks like you have more talent in inscriptions. You can create your own fire talismans without a teacher. This is much more powerful than any 6 or 7 meridians." She knew very well what this meant. This meant that Qin Yun could become a young great inscription master. Yang Shiyu brought Qin Yun to a stone room. She used her mental energy to activate the fire talisman and hurriedly threw it out. Then, she quickly released an inner force barrier to protect herself and Qin Yun. Boom! The fire talisman exploded. It set off a fierce wave of fire. The flames filled the entire stone chamber, burning fiercely for a moment before gradually extinguishing. The stone chamber was scorched by the flames that erupted from the talismans, making it extremely hot and stuffy. Yang Shiyu hurriedly pushed open the door and led Qin Yun out of the stuffy stone chamber. After going out, she took a few deep breaths and exclaimed, "This fire talisman is really strong. If a martial artist was not strong enough and did not take any precautions, they would definitely be burned to death. If you use it yourself, you have to be careful not to get burned." Then, can this kind of fire talisman be sold? Qin Yun felt that he would definitely need a lot of crystal coins in the future, so he asked softly. "Of course you can. Let's talk about it in the future. You don't lack crystal coins right now." Yang Shiyu's face looked calm, but her heart was in turmoil. Qin Yun did not know what kind of concept it was for him to learn how to craft talismans in 2 days. Furthermore, he was only 15 years old. If it was anyone else, as long as they could learn how to craft talismans, they would treat it as a joyous occasion to celebrate and hold a banquet. During this period of time, you can first refine some fire talismans to protect yourself. The fire talismans you refined are very powerful. You might be able to use them when you go out to train. Yang Shiyu recalled the moment when she threw out the fire talisman in the stone room. She felt a lingering fear in her heart. She felt that for Qin Yun to have such a level of skill in crafting talismans for the first time, he would definitely be able to shine in this field in the future. He was a true genius in the field of inscriptions. "Teacher, how's the wind-slaying incantation?" Qin Yun asked. He also wanted to quickly master a high-level martial art. "After my careful study, if I want to unleash its power, I need a good weapon." Yang Shiyu's beautiful eyes suddenly lit up as she said with a smile, "Qin Yun, do you want to try forging a spirit artifact now?" "Forging a spirit artifact? This is too difficult. It won't do in a short period of time." Qin Yun could not take it any more when he was drawing spirit inscriptions while crafting talismans. As for artifact forging, it required carving on a sturdy weapon. The process was even more difficult. That's true. Yang Shiryu nodded slightly and said, "Take your time, there's no rush. It's not bad that you can craft talismans now." Qin Yun thought for a moment, as if he had recalled something. He said excitedly, "Teacher, help me by 2 ordinary weapons. I can first inscribe spirit inscriptions on ordinary weapons as practice. This might not be too difficult." Yang Shiryu nodded with a smile. "If you want to buy one, then buy one that's worth 10,000. If you succeed in inscribing spirit inscriptions on a weapon, the weapon's value will also increase because of the spirit inscriptions." Qin Yun nodded and handed Yang Shiryu 20 purple coins, telling her to buy 2. After all this effort, he didn't have much purple coins left. He understood even more how much resources the Tao of inscriptions consumed. In just an hour, Yang Shiryu came in with 2 ghost head sabers. She handed the 2 sabers over and said, "These sabers are forged from spirit iron. Most of the weapons used by students are of this type. If I can successfully inscribe spirit inscriptions, it can be considered a half-spirit artifact, right?" Qin Yun held the 2 ghost head sabers in both hands and danced a few times. The 2 sabers each weighed 100 jin, but he danced them very nimbly. Yang Shiryu said, "This is considered relatively light. For a saber, the heavier it is, the better. If you use more spirit iron, it can weigh 200 to 300 jin. Hurry up and go inscribe." Qin Yun took the 2 sabers and hurried into the room. Yang Shiryu continued to study the wind-slaying incantation. In his room, Qin Yun calmed his heart and began inscribing. He planned to first inscribe simple basic spirit inscriptions. Many basic spirit inscriptions were recorded in various books on inscriptions. Basic spirit inscriptions were also the best choice for many beginner inscriptionists to practice their skills. Among the basic spirit inscriptions, the best is the Origin Gathering inscription. As long as I inscribe the Origin Gathering inscription on the weapon, I will be able to inject inner chi and inner force into the weapon when holding it. Otherwise, when using a weapon, I would need to cover the surface of the weapon with my inner force, which would consume a lot of energy. The book recorded in detail that if one wanted to inscribe on a saber, one would need to inscribe on both sides of the saber and on the hilt. The same type of spirit inscription would need to be inscribed 3 to 4 times. This time, Qin Yun needed to use the tip of the carving knife to inscribe spirit inscriptions. I need a lot of strength to inscribe spirit inscriptions on the surface of the spirit iron. The power of the blood soul can also penetrate the blade. Qin Yun was neither fast nor slow as he proceeded steadily. Basic spirit inscriptions weren't that complicated, so it was easier to get started and practice. 2 days later, Qin Yun let out a long sigh in his room. "I failed. My heart isn't calm enough. If I carve a little off, all my efforts will be for naught." Qin Yun was very vexed because he had failed just as he was about to complete it. He took out the crippled saber. When Yang Shiryu saw it, she knew that he had failed and hurriedly comforted him. This made his mood much better. Then, he picked up the other ghost head saber, entered the room, and continued. He needed to inscribe a total of 3 Origin Gathering inscriptions. Each time, it would take more than half a day to complete. Furthermore, when inscribing a spirit inscription, he could not stop and had to finish it in one go. Chapter 35. Freshman trial. 2 days had passed. Yang Shiryu, who was in the hall, saw Qin Yun come out in high spirits. She smiled and handed him a cup of tea. "Let me see." Yang Shiryu took the ghost head saber and said in pleasant surprise, "It's much better than I imagined. The Origin Gathering runes on it are very good and can fully absorb inner force." She released her inner force into the ghost head saber, and the blade overflowed with a sharp force. Then, he brandished his saber and slashed at the previously destroyed ghost head saber. With just a light slash, he cut it apart, cutting through iron like mud. Of course, the main reason was that her inner chi was strong enough to have such an effect. Qin Yun secretly envied this kind of power. When he was carving the runes, he knew how hard the blade was. Inner chi can be released very smoothly. Yang Shiryu praised. It's much better than the half-spirit weapons I've seen. You can use this saber yourself. Come, I'll begin explaining the wind slasher art. Sit down and listen carefully. After Qin Yun sat down, he focused on listening to the beautiful teacher's lecture. There were a total of 6 moves in the wind slasher art. They were the wind slasher style, the wave breaker style, the mountain splitter style, the earth splitter style, the river breaking force, and the lightning slasher style. As long as he could use his inner chi and smoothly execute these 6 moves, he would reach the beginner level. If he could use his inner force to execute it, he would be able to reach the small success stage. As for the large success stage, he would have to use his inner strength. Only when you reach the 6th level of the martial body can you condense inner strength. Therefore, in order to master it, you have to be at least at the 6th level of the martial body realm. Yang Shiryu said. She planned to let Qin Yun master the wind slasher art before the trial. In the next few days, she guided Qin Yun in learning the wind slasher art. She only had Qin Yun as her student, so she could focus on teaching him. This was also one of the reasons why Qin Yun had improved so quickly. In a few days, Qin Yun was able to use his inner chi to execute the 6th-style wind slasher. Yang Shiryu wore a yellow and white waist dress. Her expression was solemn and her appearance was cold and beautiful. She held a wooden sword in her hand, giving her a heroic aura. She was seriously sparring with Qin Yun. As she brandished her sword, waves of air swept up, causing the bamboo leaves outside the courtyard to tremble. Qin Yun was dressed in black. His young and handsome face was resolute and cold. His head was covered in sweat and his footsteps were somewhat messy. With a heavy saber in hand, he was sparring with Yang Shiryu with great difficulty. Yang Shiryu saw that it was about time and shouted softly, "All right, let's end it here for today. You have already mastered the 6th-style wind slayer." Normally, one would need more than half a year to learn such a profound superior-grade spirit martial technique. However, you only used a few days to learn it. Thinking of this, she was still very surprised. She continued, "Tomorrow you will go out to train. You need to experience more battles, only then will you be more familiar with using martial skills." Qin Yun nodded. Over the past few days, he had taken the time to create more than 10 fire talismans for self-defense during training. Yang Shiryu also found out that he had a mysterious storage spirit artifact. He said that it was given to him by the Grand Preceptor, so she did not pursue the matter. The next morning, Qin Yun woke up very early. He wore a red and white tunic with some armor, making him look much more valiant, like a young general about to enter the battlefield. He sat on the roof of the small building and watched the 9 golden suns slowly rise. He bathed in the morning sunlight and absorbed the 9 suns' spiritual energy into his body. Yang Shiryu walked out of the house with a simple ponytail. She was dressed in pure black clothes and had a domineering killing intent. She looked like a jade-faced female assassin. Qin Yun jumped down from the top and walked out of the bamboo forest courtyard with Yang Shiryu. They arrived at the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Outside the grand entrance, they gathered with the other freshmen in the spacious plaza outside. Every freshman had to participate in this trial and go to a place to hunt and kill demonic beasts that were disturbing the people. Just a moment ago, Yang Shiryu had told Qin Yun that among this batch of freshmen, there were a few students with good aptitude who had also stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm. Among them was the disciple of the Jiang family who had awakened the sound wave martial spirit. In this trial, the class that kills the most demonic beasts will receive generous rewards. In the process of killing demonic beasts, it will be extremely dangerous. You must listen to teacher's arrangements. Don't be arrogant lest you lose your lives. Principal Zhang said sternly, I will also follow you. You can rest assured. Principal Zhang always said that he was only at the 9th level of the martial body realm, but there were rumors that he had already stepped into the martial Dao realm. Everyone believed that the rumors were true, so they were more at ease. Just as they were about to set off, a majestic group of carriages appeared in the distance. The luxurious carriage shone with a golden light under the sunlight. With a single glance, one could tell that the person in the carriage was an extremely powerful person. Suddenly, dozens of carriages sped up. The horses neighed as they stepped on the dust. Cui Hui shouted in surprise, It's Master Wei's convoy. Brother Kuan's injuries are healed. After Yen Yun finished speaking, she glanced at Qin Yun as though she was saying, There's something for you to see. Not long after, the convoy arrived and stopped in front of the main entrance of the Hua Ling Wu Academy. A few teachers of the Hua Ling Wu Academy and dozens of seniors at the 5th level of the martial body realm rushed over. They faced the carriage and respectfully shouted in unison, Welcome, Master Wei. A middle-aged man with a square face wearing a golden brocade robe walked down from a huge carriage pulled by 10 horses. The middle-aged man's thick eyebrows were vertical and his face was cold. Behind the middle-aged man was a blue-clothed man. It was Wei Xuankuan. After Wei Xuankuan was injured by Qin Yun, he was sent away to recuperate. At this moment, his complexion was extremely good. His injuries had already healed. His father was a grandmaster of inscriptions. He was rich and had a large amount of pills, which was why he had recovered so quickly. Master Wei's eyes swept across and paused on Qin Yun for a moment. He said indifferently, Kuan you have already stepped into the 6th level of the martial body realm. In the future, you should behave yourself in the martial arts academy. After being heavily injured, Wei Xuankuan had actually stepped into the 6th level of the martial body realm. A large group of seniors were extremely envious as they went forward to congratulate him. Master Wei, it's all our fault for not stopping him in time. Young Master Wei was seriously injured. A teacher blamed himself. Many people immediately looked at Qin Yun. Was this the status of a Grandmaster of Inscriptions? Qin Yun asked in shock. He suddenly felt a lot of pressure. He never expected Master Wei's status to be so high. In the Hua Ling Wu Academy, there were actually so many people who were respectful to him. There were many teachers in the Hua Ling Wu Academy who were at the 7th or 8th level of the martial body realm. However, in the face of a Grandmaster of Inscriptions, they humbly lowered their heads. Master Wei, we are going to begin the freshman trial today, so this old man will take his leave. Please forgive me, Principal Zhang said with a smile. After so many years, Principal Zhang's cultivation seems to have improved quite a bit. I believe he has already stepped into the realm of martial arts. I will be a guest of the Hua Ling Wu Academy for a few days and see if I can meet a genius of inscriptions. Master Wei laughed heartily as an oppressive aura followed, causing many young students to not dare to breathe. After Master Wei finished speaking, he boarded the carriage and drove into the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Let's go, the freshman training begins. All of you, follow me closely. Principal Zhang shouted and began to run. The Hua Ling Wu Academy was outside the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, and beside it was a turbulent Cloud Dragon River. Chapter 36. Cloud Dragon Mountains. In the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, a misty mist covered thousands of dangerous peaks. It was like a veil that covered the various mysteries of the mountain range. Within the mountain range, the forest was like an ocean, and there were waterfalls, strange mountains, and various demon beasts. It was dangerous and mysterious, and it was the most dangerous and mysterious place in the heavenly Qin Empire. Legend had it that on the other side of the Cloud Dragon mountain range, there was an even wider area. The people who built the Hua Ling Wu Academy came from the other side of the mountain range. The river surged and the wind howled. Qin Yun followed beside Yang Shiryu with steady step. With a large group of people, they ran along the coast towards the forest ahead. Half a day later, everyone had already climbed over a few mountains and entered the Cloud Dragon mountain range. They arrived at the outer region of the Cloud Dragon mountain range. There were all sorts of dangers hidden here, so they needed to be extra careful. Principal Zhang brought the teachers and students into a forest and stopped at an open space. He said to the students, "Next, I will accompany you to fight with the demonic beasts. This will train your combat ability and let you understand the strength of the demonic beasts. The training period is 3 days. Within these 3 days, the class that kills the most demonic beasts will be rewarded." "Dean, what if teacher secretly helps us? Isn't this very unfair?" Yan Yun shouted and glanced at Yang Shiryu. Yang Shiryu was the strongest teacher here. She was at the 9th level martial body realm. If she helped Qin Yun, she would undoubtedly win. "Could it be that you don't trust teacher?" Principal Zhang's face darkened, and he said coldly, "It's not that we don't trust him, but Teacher Yang and Qin Yun are only 2 people. If they were to cheat, we wouldn't know at all." Yan Yun said timidly in a low voice when she saw Principal Zhang getting angry. The other students and a few teachers also supported the idea, especially Cui Hui, who raised her voice and said, "Teacher Yang thinks very highly of Qin Yun, so we can't trust him." "All right, I'll get the teachers to draw lots, and we'll assign new teachers to lead the classes." Principal Zhang thought for a moment and said. That was all they could do now. Yang Shiryu was originally a little worried, but when she thought of how Qin Yun was not weak and how he had a fire talisman to defend himself, she could only agree. After drawing lots, Yang Shiryu led the students of Class 1. As for Qin Yun's Class 9, which only had 1 student, it was led by a tall and thin middle-aged man in blue. He was the teacher of Class 5. His name was Ding Tianchun, and he had a cultivation at the 7th level martial body realm. Ding Tianchun had a square face, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. He looked very honest and had a gentle smile on his face. He looked like someone who was easy to bully. The strongest demon beasts in this area are only at the 6th rank, which is equivalent to the 6th level martial body. The teachers can easily deal with them. Even if a 7th rank demonic beast appears, there's no need to be afraid. You have to believe in my strength, and you have to believe in yourselves. Principal Zhang's voice was powerful as he encouraged everyone. I'll wait here for your return. I wish you all good result. Let's begin. The teachers immediately led their students into the dense forest. Qin Yun, you don't have to worry. I have a lot of experience in finding demonic beasts, Ding Tianchun said with a silly smile as he ran. Then I'll have to trouble Teacher Ding. Qin Yun nodded. He had been tricked by Qin Diren once before, so he was very wary of strangers. After running in the forest for more than an hour, Ding Tianchun suddenly discovered something and said in a low voice, "There's the aura of a demonic beast here." He stopped and began to search the ground carefully. Not long after, Ding Tianchun found the footprints of a demonic beast and said, "From the footprints, this is a very large sword-thorn turkey. It can spit out flames and release spikes when it flaps its wings. If it's only a rank 5 demonic beast, you can deal with it." In this short period of time, Qin Yun and Ding Tianchun had gotten along quite well. However, he knew a person's face but not his heart, so he remained vigilant. Ding Tianchun was a responsible teacher. Along the way, he taught Qin Yun a lot of knowledge about demonic beasts and his experience in dealing with demonic beasts. This benefited Qin Yun greatly. As Qin Yun ran, he suddenly said, "I feel a trace of heat." He possessed the purple gold fire martial spirit, so he was extremely sensitive to flames. I told you before, you should know how to deal with the details of the sword-stabbed turkey, right? Ding Tianchun said in a low voice. This guy is looking for food nearby. If you follow the heat, you'll be able to find it. All right. Qin Yun carefully stepped on the flame cloud step. Like a moving cloud, he silently followed the weak wisp of hot air. It was noon and the 9 scorching suns were hanging high in the sky. The forest was filled with ancient trees with lush foliage, but it was also cool. From time to time, a cool breeze would blow. But now, a hot wind suddenly blew. Cluck cluck. What followed was a sharp and ear-piercing cry of a chicken. It's coming. It's very fast. Qin Yun was alarmed as he hurriedly dodged. What came over was not a sword-stabbed turkey, but many short sword-like spikes. After the spike stabbed into a large tree, it exploded into a ball of fire, shattering the tree trunk that was a few meters thick. Bang! The tree collapsed and fell to the ground. Qin Yun's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. If he were to be stabbed, there was a high chance that he would be blown to pieces. The sword-stabbed turkey also suddenly charged over. It was a giant chicken that was more than a meter tall. It looked like a fighting chicken and its feathers were steaming hot. It held its head high and puffed out its chest, giving it a mighty aura. Cluck cluck. The speed of the sword-stabbed turkey was very fast. As it rushed over, it constantly flapped its wings and released a terrifying explosive sword stab. It's a grade 5 sword-stabbed turkey. This guy has been out recently. Looking at its claws and feathers, they are all flesh and blood. It should have eaten quite a few people. Ding Tianchun said anxiously, You must be careful of its sword stab. When the sword-stabbed turkey rushed over, it sent out another wave of spikes. Qin Yun's movement technique was very brilliant. He was always able to dodge it easily. This made Ding Tianchun secretly praise him. Flaming Light Fist. After finding an opportunity, Qin Yun punched through the air. Violent purplish-gold inner qi overflowed from his fist as it charged towards the sword-stabbed turkey, striking its head. Cluck! The sword-stabbed turkey let out a cry as its body flipped to the ground. The inner qi that Qin Yun had condensed was not only concentrated on a single point, but it was also very accurate, striking straight at the head. When Ding Tianchun saw this punch, he could not help but praise it. The power of the Flaming Light Fist was its close combat attack. Qin Yun flew to the side of the sword-stabbed turkey. His fists suddenly emitted a fiery red aura, as though he had taken out a fiery red iron fist from an oven. Bang! Bang! His fiery fists violently smashed into the head of the sword-stabbed turkey. Every punch produced a shockwave. In an instant, he punched out several times. In just an instant, the sword-stabbed turkey fell to the ground, its body twitching. You defeated the sword-stabbed turkey. Ding Tianchun walked over and said with a surprised smile, As expected of the number 1 freshman, your strength is truly astonishing. Qin Yun only smiled and asked, Teacher Ding, how should I deal with this turkey? I have a storage spirit artifact, so I'll help you keep it for now. In the end, it will still belong to you. After Ding Tianchun killed the sword-stabbed turkey, he placed it into a storage bag. Let's go, let's continue. We have to hurry up and kill more evil demon beasts. Ding Tianchun laughed loudly. With this kind of strength, even if you were to hunt the demon beasts alone, your results would definitely be the best. With me, a tracking expert, I can find more demon beasts for you to kill. Chapter 37. Swift Apting Tianchun led Qin Yun through the forest in search of demonic beasts. It had to be said that Ding Tianchuan's hunting experience was extremely rich. This shocked Qin Yun greatly, because it didn't take long for him to find an armored bear. Although the armored bear was only a rank 4 demonic beast, it had a very strong armor on its body. Just like the pangolin, it was not easy to deal with. The armored bear was very slow, but Qin Yun was very fast. He wandered around the armored bear, and constantly punched the armored bear's body with his flame-light fist. He injected scorching flames into the bear's body and slowly consumed it. In just a short while, he had knocked the armored bear down. Of course, Ding Tianquan's guidance from the side was also very useful. Your use of the fire cloud steps and inner qi is very outstanding. It far surpasses many older students at the 5th level of the martial body realm. Ding Tianquan praised sincerely. It's just that there's one thing that's not good enough. Teacher, please give me some pointers. Qin Yun hurriedly said as he listened attentively. Your attack is fierce enough and your movement technique is good enough, but you haven't combined the two. Your movement technique can bring you speed and speed can bring you a certain amount of power. If you can use this power cleverly and integrate it into your martial skill, it can increase your strength by quite a bit. As Ding Tianquan spoke, he began to demonstrate. As he floated out, he waved his palm and broke a large tree. He did it in one go without using any inner qi. He only linked his movement technique and external technique together. With the help of the movement technique, he broke the thick tree trunk. When Qin Yun saw this, he was immediately enlightened. He hurriedly said gratefully, "Thank you for your guidance, teacher. With your perception, you will definitely be able to grasp it easily." Ding Tianquan smiled and said, "Let's continue looking for demonic beasts." In the next 2 days, under Ding Tianquan's lead, Qin Yun hunted a total of 5 demonic beasts. Only the sword thorn turkey was a rank 5 demonic beast. The others were all rank 4. This result was considered pretty good. After all, he was the only one fighting while the other classes had more than a dozen people. The area we are in is still considered safe. If we go a little deeper, there will be rank 6 demonic beasts. Ding Tianquan sat under a large tree to rest. Teacher Ding, how strong is the strongest demonic beast in the depths of the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range? Qin Yun asked curiously. He didn't know much about demon beasts, but Ding Tianquan was very proficient in this area. The entire Cloud Dragon Mountain Range is many times larger than the Tianqin Empire. The 2 nearby empires are connected to the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. In such a vast Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, there are all sorts of heavenly and earthly treasures. Demonic beasts can eat these things and constantly evolve, so in the depth. Ding Tianquan paused for a moment before continuing. In the depths there must be profound beasts. Xian beast. Qin Yun was alarmed. The martial body realm corresponds to demonic beasts, the martial Dao realm corresponds to spirit beasts, and the Xian beasts are above the martial Dao realm. Ding Tianquan smiled. Of course, this is only a legend. In short, the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range is very mysterious. For some reason, the expression of Ding Tianquan, who was originally chatting and laughing, suddenly changed drastically. Teacher Ding, what's wrong? Qin Yun was shocked by Ding Tianquan's sudden change in expression and hurriedly asked. There's a situation, let's get out of here quickly. Ding Tianquan hurriedly got up. Just as he took 2 steps, a black shadow flashed past, accompanied by an extremely strong aura. Qin Yun felt like he was about to suffocate. As for Ding Tianquan, he had already thrown a punch at the black shadow, but he did not hit it. It's a swift ape, a very fast rank 7 demonic beast. Let's go. Ding Tianquan's expression was extremely solemn. Qin Yun only saw a black shadow flash past. He was unable to see what it was. From this, it could be seen how fast it was. Just as he took a step forward, he felt a heavy force rush towards him. It was as if death was approaching, causing him to be extremely shocked. Ding Tianquan shouted loudly as he sent out a ball of inner qi, knocking Qin Yun away. After Qin Yun was blasted away, the frightening power of the quick shadow ape missed and broke a few huge trees, setting off a wave of air. The swift ape seemed to be extremely angry. It immediately charged at Ding Tianchun and sent him flying. "Teacher Ding!" Qin Yun shouted. "Leave quickly. Leave this to me." Ding Tianchun roared at Qin Yun as he fought with the swift ape. How could Qin Yun abandon Ding Tianchun? He immediately took out 2 fire talismans and shouted anxiously, "Teacher Ding, I have 2 fire talismans here. Is it of any use?" Ding Tianchun had just been hit by the swift ape and was already injured. However, he was still able to fight on par with the swift ape. "Throw the fire talisman over." When Ding Tianchun saw that Qin Yun did not run, he felt a wave of admiration in his heart. He knew very well that Qin Yun was unable to resist the swift ape. In such a critical situation, Qin Yun did not leave. He was not someone who was afraid of death. He was brave and loyal. He had an outstanding character. "Teacher Ding, my fire talismans are stronger. You have to be careful." After Qin Yun said that, he took out a few more talismans and covered them with his inner qi. He threw them out with great force like flying stone pieces. After the fire talisman flew over, it suddenly exploded. Waves of fire covered the sky and earth, overlapping one another. Wave after wave of fire surged up, instantly burning the entire area into a sea of fire. Qin Yun possessed the purple gold fire martial spirit. He used a little inner qi to form a barrier to block the wave of fire. Facing the sea of fire, he shouted, "Mr. Ding, how are you?" "I'm fine." Ding Tianchun slowly walked out with the black swift ape on his shoulder. His face was covered in dirt and he looked like he was still in a state of shock. "Isn't this fire talisman too strong? Did Teacher Yang give it to you?" Ding Tianchun exclaimed and then smiled. "She really cares for you. She gave you such a powerful item to protect yourself." Qin Yun's fire talisman interfered with the swift ape, allowing Ding Tianchun to find an opportunity to attack. Ding Tianchun laughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he frowned and hurriedly sat down cross-legged to heal his injuries. "I'll just rest for a while," Ding Tianchun said. "There are flames all around us. We'll be safer here." Qin Yun nodded and went to look at the corpse of the swift ape. "There's a black hoop on the neck of this swift ape." As Qin Yun spoke, he reached out to touch it. Indeed, he touched a collar. "This is beast controlling collar." Ding Tianchun's expression suddenly changed. "This swift ape has a master. Who could it be?" When Qin Yun heard that, he immediately understood. Someone had sent the swift ape to kill them. "Master Wei," Ding Tianchun said in a deep voice, "the beast-controlling collar is a very precious spirit artifact, especially one that can control a Class 7 demonic beast. It's even more expensive. You have a grudge with Master Wei, and he can also refine such a thing. Other than him, I can't think of anyone who would deal with you." Qin Yun had injured Wei Xuanquan and even broken the spirit sword forged by Master Wei. It was impossible for Master Wei to not bear a grudge. Therefore, Ding Tianchun immediately thought of Master Wei. "As expected, once I leave the Hua Ling Wu Academy, they will attack," Qin Yun said angrily. Suddenly, the surrounding flames surged as more than a dozen figures flew in. Chapter 38. Six-Style Wind Slayer. "Amazing, you actually killed the swift ape. Ding, you're in trouble now. Do you know who this swift ape belongs to?" Cui Hui had a sinister sneer on her face as she waved her hand for the other students to surround Qin Yun. "What do you mean by this?" When Ding Tianchun saw Cui Hui arrive, he guessed something. "This is the swift ape raised by Master Wei. You actually killed it. If Master Wei were to find out, you would definitely die." Cui Hui laughed sinisterly, looking even more ferocious and ugly. Qin Yun clenched his fists tightly. His expression was cold and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "Run!" Ding Tianchun shouted at Qin Yun. He sat cross-legged on the ground and his inner force surged out. Like a tiger pouncing on a rabbit, he pounced at Cui Hui and sent her flying into a sea of flames. As for Qin Yun, he was already surrounded by more than 10 students. Qin Yun, you bastard, you're in the limelight among the freshmen. You even offended Big Brother Wei and even insulted the Empress. You're dead for sure. You must be cultivating a demonic art to have such strength. Yang Shiyu is still protecting you. Great devil, now that you've fallen into our hands, you won't be able to escape. Even if you are at the 5th level of the martial body realm, you will definitely die if you are surrounded by more than 10 of us at the 4th level. Ha ha ha, that idiot surnamed Ding actually told him to run. If we kill him, we'll be able to obtain the Empress bounty of 1,000,000 crystal coins. When the time comes, we'll be able to buy a lot of good things. Haha, hurry up and do it. This is my 2nd time killing someone. I have more experience than you. I'll go first. Teacher Cui said that we should attack together. He's someone who can defeat Big Brother Wei. A blue-clothed youth hurriedly shouted. All right, let's attack together. Attack! Kill! The group of students surrounding Qin Yun shouted proudly, their eyes filled with hostility. To them, killing Qin Yun with their own hands was a very exciting matter. Qin Yun's expression was cold. His eyes were filled with killing intent and anger. Facing the encirclement of more than 10 people, he appeared extremely calm. He stood upright and faintly exuded the aura of a proud and aloof expert. More than a dozen people rushed over, forming a gentle breeze. Qin Yun focused his mind. After capturing the breeze, he quickly took out a ghost head saber from his storage space. It was the ghost head saber that he had carved spirit runes on. It weighed 50 kilograms and was a half-spirit artifact. Cutting wind style. He sensed the wind stirred up by the 3 youths and rushed towards the clouds, brandishing his saber. Who? The blade flashed with a cold light, bringing with it a spray of blood mist. With a swing of his saber, the 3 youths were cut in half at the waist. The other students who were rushing over suddenly stopped as if their feet were suddenly sucked in by the ground. They were all stunned by the scene in front of them. Wave-breaking style. Qin Yun did not wait for them to come to their senses as he flew over. He slashed horizontally with his saber, creating a wave of saber energy. Everything that was enveloped by the saber energy was sliced into pieces. Shwa! In the blink of an eye, several students were killed by the frenzied saber aura, dying a miserable death. Qin Yun, you are killing people. A student's voice trembled. Didn't you want to kill me just now? Am I not human? Qin Yun was infuriated as he slashed across the air. Saber chi shot out and instantly killed the student. The surrounding trees were burning and the heat enveloped the area. However, the remaining students felt an incomparably cold chill assaulting them. This chill spread throughout his entire body from head to toe. This was the fear brought about by the approach of death. Qin Yun was at the 5th level of the martial body realm. He could use his inner force, and his martial arts cultivation technique had reached the small success stage. His strength was not something that a disciple of a power who looked down on others could imagine. You cultivate a demonic art. You are not a human, you are a devil. You will definitely be tortured to death. A youth said in a trembling voice as he turned around and ran. The other students also hurriedly ran, shouting Teacher Cui with a voice filled with fear. Qin Yun's figure was like the wind as he flew forward. His broadsword danced wildly as it slashed down mercilessly. Wind slasher, wave breaker, mountain splitter, earth splitter, river break, thunder slash, wind slasher. 6 style wind slasher were unleashed in succession. The saber energy was like a violent gale, wreaking havoc and howling. In just a moment, the fleeing youths all fell into a pool of blood. Before they died, their faces were filled with fear and endless regret. They regretted surrounding and killing Qin Yun. The students that surrounded Qin Yun were all from the same class. They were the children of the aristocratic families of the Tian Qin Empire. They had long known that the Empress had placed a bounty on Qin Yun. However, they had always hated the fact that they didn't have the chance to make a move. They had originally thought that the opportunity had come, but they didn't know that they had lost their lives. You killed me for your own benefit. You killed people for your own selfish reasons. You are like villains and bandits. In the future, when you grow up, you will definitely kill people like flies. Qin Yun took out 2 fire talismans and burned the place clean to remove all traces. Then, he ran towards the sounds of battle that came from afar. Ding Tianchun was already injured. Now that he was fighting with Cui Hui, he was completely suppressed. After Qin Yun ran over, he saw Ding Tianchun being stabbed in the left shoulder by Cui Hui's cold sword. It pierced through. Cui Hui, how dare you attack a teacher of the Hualing Wu Academy? Ding Tianchun said angrily, you're crazy. Ridiculous. Don't you know my relationship with Master Wei? Cui Hui laughed loudly as she pulled out her sword. Then, he kicked Ding Tianchun in the abdomen, sending him flying and crashing into a tree. Master Wei sure has a unique taste. He actually took a fancy to trash like you. Ding Tianchun spat out a mouthful of blood as he mocked loudly. You're worried that you'll die too comfortably, aren't you? Fine, I'll let you try my methods before you die. Cui Hui's voice was sinister as she walked over and took out many long needles. The tip of the needle flashed with a purple light. It was obvious that it was a poisonous needle. Qin Yun, who was hiding in the distance, hurriedly took out the remaining 10 fire talismans. Just as he was about to throw them out, he suddenly heard a beast roar. Ding Tianchun also heard the beast roar. His expression changed drastically at first, but then he laughed out loud and deliberately made a lot of noise. Ding, what kind of demon beast is this? Cui Hui hurriedly stopped in her tracks as she felt her hair stand on end. That deep roar made her feel very uneasy. It's a steel tiger, a rank 8 demonic beast. You can't beat it, ha. You're dead for sure, die with me. Ding Tianchun said with a laugh. Shut up. Cui Hui shouted in a low voice. Just as she was about to throw the poisonous needle in her hand at Ding Tianchun, a silver tiger that was as strong as a cow suddenly appeared. The tiger's body was covered in silver steel armor. It looked indestructible and its eyes were red, giving off an even more terrifying feeling. Beast. Cui Hui panicked as she took out a talisman and threw it out. Crack. After the talisman exploded, lightning flashed and struck the steel tiger's body, causing it to let out an angry growl. High-grade lightning talismans are useless. You've angered it now. Just as Ding Tianchun finished speaking, the steel tiger pounced at Cui Hui. The speed was so fast that it left one speechless. Qin Yun watched from afar with trepidation. Cui Hui didn't have time to dodge as the steel tiger's claws pierced into her shoulders. A powerful and barbaric beast power surged out, causing her to cry out miserably. Her reaction was very fast. After being pushed down, she hurriedly used the strongest strength in her body to push the steel tiger away. She took out a few more talismans and threw them out in panic, hitting the steel tiger's body. Boom! With a loud sound, a blinding bolt of lightning flashed and sent the steel tiger flying. It crashed into a few large trees and fell to the ground, howling in a low voice. Top-grade Thunder Talisman. Ding Tianchun was alarmed as he secretly gritted his teeth. Cui Hui, who was supposed to be dead, had actually sent the steel tiger flying. Humph! Just as Cui Hui let out a complacent snort, she suddenly felt a breeze blow. Something was flying over. Qin Yun had attacked. Chapter 39. A concussive strike. Cui Hui and Ding Tianchun were both wondering who it would be, and when they saw that the person flying over was Qin Yun, they were stunned. Qin Yun, you haven't left yet? Ding Tianchun shouted in shock. Cui Hui believed that Qin Yun was definitely dead, while Ding Tianchun believed that Qin Yun had already escaped. The moment Qin Yun came over, he brandished the ghost head saber in his hand and used the wind-slaying style. The move was smooth and domineering. The oppressive saber chi swept over like a bolt of lightning, enveloping Cui Hui's body in layers. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sharp airflow was like a sharp blade, cutting Cui Hui's entire body into bloody wounds. Blood dripped from her body, making it a tragic sight. You're not dead. What about them? Cui Hui screamed. If I don't die, then they die. What else can happen? Qin Yun came to Cui Hui's side and slashed down with his saber. Cui Hui was at the 7th level martial body realm after all. Although she was heavily injured, she still managed to avoid that fatal strike. She was extremely alarmed. Qin Yun had killed a large group of disciples from famous sects and was still able to calmly attack her. Such a state of mind was shocking. Venomous woman, today, I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he used the wind-slaying style again. The saber chi howled like the wind. At such a close distance, Cui Hui was unable to dodge at all. However, she was still not afraid. After all, she was at the 7th level martial body realm. She circulated all the inner force in her body to form a shield to protect herself. Bang! Qin Yun's saber struck the barrier and was repelled by great resistance. Humph, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. You want to kill me? No way. Cui Hui sneered. Qin Yun's expression turned cold as the hand holding the saber trembled. When Cui Hui saw Qin Yun's hand trembling, she felt disdain in her heart. She believed that his arm had been injured by the qi barrier when he slashed out with his saber. Break! Qin Yun roared as a surge of vibrating inner force surged out and infused it into the ghost head saber. He used the most ferocious, mountain splitter style. The saber exploded with a surging vibrating force, splitting Cui Hui's barrier apart. The saber continued downwards like a hot knife through butter. At that moment, Cui Hui felt a heavy vibrating force pressing down ruthlessly, causing her to feel incomparably shocked. She could clearly sense that there was another martial spirit in Qin Yun's body that was releasing this terrifying vibration power. Vibration martial spirit, the legendary martial spirit. The demon head saber mercilessly slashed down, killing Cui Hui. Cui Hui's face was filled with indignation and her heart was filled with resentment. She widened her eyes that were filled with fear and stopped breathing. A dignified 7th level martial body was actually killed by a 5th level martial body brat. She died with grievances. Qin Yun took out 2 mid-grade lightning talismans and an upper essence pill from Cui Hui's body. Although he had a storage bag, he was unable to obtain the items inside due to the mental imprint. He went over to help Ding Tianchun up and asked, "Mr. Ding, how are you?" Ding Tianchun was stunned by Qin Yun's proficient wind-slasher art. However, he did not notice the vibration martial spirit. "I'm fine, I won't die." After taking the pill, he looked around and sighed. The 6th style Windslayer was a high-grade spirit-level martial art. Qin Yun was able to use his inner chi to execute it and had reached the basic level. And he had just obtained the Wind-Slasher art not long ago. This was what shocked Ding Tianchun the most. "Professor Ding, that steel tiger is not dead." Qin Yun looked at the steel tiger on the ground. Its abdomen was heaving up and down, and it was still breathing. The steel tiger did not take the initiative to attack. Cui Hui was the one who attacked with the lightning talisman in a panic. Ding Tianchun said in a low voice, "Some demon beasts also understand human nature and will not attack humans for no reason. If you apply this medicine on the steel tiger's body, whether or not it can turn for the better will depend on its luck. Is that really okay?" Qin Yun took a box that was filled with light green medicinal powder. "I've studied demon beasts for more than 30 years and I know them very well. I can confirm that this steel tiger is the type that has intelligence. You don't have to worry. Ding Tianchun sighed. If we can avoid killing, then we won't. In this trial, we are killing ferocious demon beasts that are out to prey on humans. Qin Yun walked to the steel tiger's side and smeared the medicinal powder evenly on it. Ding Tianchuan's injuries were slightly better and he could stand up on his own. He put away the corpse of the swift ape and used a fire talisman to burn Cui Hui's corpse. Those students deserved to die. You don't have to take this matter to heart. Ding Tianchun patted Qin Yun on the shoulder and said, They attacked you for the sake of their own benefits. They asked for it. Following that, Ding Tianchun returned to Principal Zhang's place with Qin Yun's help. The steel tiger has always lived in the inner region of the Cloud Dragon mountain range. No matter how big the commotion outside is, it shouldn't have come out. On the way, Ding Tianchun was very puzzled about this matter. What's the reason why the steel tiger ran out? Qin Yun asked. To avoid the natural disaster. Ding Tianchuan's expression was solemn. Perhaps some disaster is about to befall the Cloud Dragon mountain range. After more than half a day, Qin Yun and Ding Tianchun finally returned to the empty space in the forest and met Principal Zhang. What's going on? Is the injury that serious? When Principal Zhang saw this, his expression froze as he asked. He was injured by a demon beast. After Ding Tianchun finished speaking, he sat on the ground. People returned one after another and began to tally the result. Those who killed more demon beasts would win. Rank 3 demon beasts were not counted, only rank 4 and rank 5 demon beasts were counted. A rank 5 demon beast was equivalent to 10 rank 4 demon beasts. Class 1 is amazing, they killed a total of 12. Isn't that so? Jiang Lang has a sound wave martial spirit and has stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm. He is very strong. Sigh, it's infuriating to compare with others. Jiang Lang has 4 spirit veins and a legendary martial spirit. It's normal for him to have stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm early on. However, Qin Yun, this fellow only has one bloodline. Could it be that he can step into the 5th level of the martial body realm with the purple gold fire martial spirit? The students discussed in low voices, feeling indignant. They were all envious of Class 1's results, being able to get first place. Also, Class 1 was led by Yang Shiyu. If Yang Shiyu were to lead Qin Yun, then Qin Yun would definitely be first place and enjoy the rewards alone. Everyone had to admit that Yang Shiyu was indeed a good teacher. Due to the Empress' interference, she had become Qin Yun's personal teacher. This made many students very angry, feeling that the Empress had made a bad move. Right now, only the 9th class led by Ding Tianchun and the 3rd class led by Cui Hui had yet to count the results. Even Teacher Ding is injured. Qin Yun is truly a calamity. Teacher Ding's strength wasn't very strong to begin with. Now that he's injured, it must be because of Qin Yun. This unlucky fellow, it's because of him that I had no choice but to transfer to another class. Otherwise, I would have been Teacher Yang's student. All the students were criticizing Qin Yun. The corpses of the demonic beasts were all with Ding Tianchun. He was seriously recuperating, so he could not take them out. Ding Tianchun was not strong, but he had an extremely good understanding of demonic beasts. It was impossible for him to be injured by a demonic beast unless he encountered a rank 8 or 9 demonic beast. Therefore, the other teachers were very surprised by this. A teacher walked over and said to Qin Yun sternly, "Qin Yun, how did Teacher Ding get injured?" Chapter 40. Fight if you don't like it. Ding Tianchun, who was recuperating with his eyes closed, slowly said, "It's already not bad that I can come out alive after encountering the steel tiger. My injuries have nothing to do with Qin Yun." Principal Zhang frowned and said, "I also saw a rank 8 bird beast fly out from the sky. It seems like something is going to happen in the depths of the Cloud Dragon mountain range. Yang Shiyu watched quietly from the side. She felt that this matter was not that simple. Doesn't that mean Class 7's Qin Yun has no results? A fat teacher laughed. Because up until now, the class led by this fat middle-aged teacher had the worst result. If Qin Yun didn't have any results, then the class led by him wouldn't be at the bottom. No! After Ding Tianchun stood up, he took out the corpses of 5 demonic beasts from his storage bag. The sword thorn turkey is a rank 5 demonic beast, while the other 4 are rank 4. Rank 5 demonic beasts are counted as 10, so this is equivalent to 14. Ding Tianchun looked at the fat middle-aged teacher and continued, "These were all killed by Qin Yun himself. I am only responsible for tracking down the demonic beasts and giving pointers from the side." President Zhang came over to take a look, nodded, and said, "There are traces of blazing light fist on the corpse of the demonic beast. He actually didn't use a weapon. Looks like his blazing light fist has improved a lot." The 200 students here were instantly in an uproar. Qin Yun was able to kill a rank 5 demonic beast by himself. Furthermore, he was barehanded. This kind of strength was unimaginable to the 4th level students. Many students are envious, jealous, and hateful. They looked at Qin Yun with unwillingness. The teachers had nothing to say. They knew that Ding Tianchun was an honest person and would not side with Qin Yun. The students were so jealous that they secretly gritted their teeth. Because this time, Qin Yun once again monopolized the first-place reward. Now we're just waiting for Class 3. Yang Shiyu smiled and nodded at Qin Yun in appreciation. Only Qin Yun and Ding Tianchun knew that the people from Class 3 would never return, because they were all killed by Qin Yun alone. When Ding Tianchun thought of this, he felt extremely emotional. When the sky turned dark, everyone set up camp and continued to wait for the people from Class 3. It was now the final deadline. "Principal, are they not coming back?" an old man asked. He was the original teacher of Class 3. "I don't know. Let's wait another day. If they can't come back, you guys go back first. I'll go in alone to look for them." Principal Zhang's expression was somewhat heavy. The next morning, Principal Zhang announced that Class 9 had won first place. The reward this time was to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array and cultivate for 10 days. The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array was located at the top of Hualing Peak. Cultivating inside for 10 days was equivalent to absorbing spiritual qi for 1 to 2 years. Dean, we're not convinced. The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array is only activated once a year. It's not a problem for more than 10 people to enter. But now, only Qin Yun's bloodline can enjoy it alone. It is too wasteful. A middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes is very dissatisfied. He is a teacher of Class 1. The other teachers also protested. Qin Yun remembered that these teachers had a good relationship with Master Wei. Yang Shiyu said with a sneer, "If Qin Yun can kill so many demonic beasts by himself, why can't he enjoy the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array alone? He's just a piece of trash who got lucky. It must be because of your secret help that he was able to break through so quickly." Yen Yun shouted loudly. She had the Yen family behind her and her fiancé was Master Wei's son. Furthermore, Master Wei was at the Hua Ling Wu Academy. That was why she dared to contradict Yang Shiyu. "Your fiancé has been in the 5th level of the martial body realm for a period of time, but he lost to me. In other words, your fiancé is not even as good as trash like me." Qin Yun chuckled. "It's hard on you to marry a fellow who isn't even as good as trash." "You." "Shut up, Brother Kuan is a future inscription master. He has devoted all his energy to inscriptions and can already craft talismans. After we return this time, Master Wei will invite all the students of the Hua Ling Wu Academy and the various aristocratic families of Tianqin to congratulate us." Yen Yun's angry voice was filled with pride. When she said that Wei Xuankuan could craft talismans, everyone burst into an uproar. Isn't it just talismans? Qin Yun said casually. He could also craft talismans, and he had made quite a few of them. They were all very strong fire talismans. When everyone heard his words, they roared with laughter. Ignorant fellow! Do you know what it means to be able to craft talismans? A teacher sneered. This means that Wei Xuankuan has already stepped into the threshold of an inscription master. How many old fellows have studied for decades and are still unable to cross this threshold? When Yen Yun heard this, she proudly raised her head. The other students also came over to congratulate Wei Xuankuan and flatter him in all sorts of ways. Principal, Qin Yun alone enjoys the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. We are really not convinced. You must understand our feelings. Yen Yun said, Master Wei is preparing to hold a celebratory banquet at the Martial Arts Academy. When the other famous sects find out, enough. If any of you are unconvinced, then fight me. I used my own strength to obtain the reward. That is what I deserve. What right do you have to be unconvinced? With your own strength? Are you as strong as me? Just based on your mouths and how many spirit veins you have? You have more spirit veins than me, and all of you have the help of your families behind you. However, you are still inferior to me, who only has one bloodline. Why? Isn't that because you are useless, not hard-working enough, and idling around all day? Qin Yun was infuriated as he pointed at the group of students who had faces full of dissatisfaction and shouted loudly. The group of students did not dare to say another word. Qin Yun could even defeat Wei Xuankuan. He was not someone they could deal with. I'll fight you. A tall youth walked out. He wore an expensive soft armor and had a proud expression. Zheng Yuanqing, is that the Zheng family disciple who possesses the 5 Yang spiritual pulse and the golden tiger martial spirit? He's from class 2. A student whispered, his eyes filled with admiration. He has already stepped into the 5th level of the martial body realm and possesses a rare beast martial spirit. According to Yen Yun, Wei Xuankuan is not a combat type, so he will lose to Qin Yun. As for Zheng Yuanqing, he possesses a beast martial spirit, so he should be able to focus on combat. He might even be able to defeat Qin Yun. A life-and-death battle? Qin Yun asked coldly. Qin Yun, if you lose, you will allow their class to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. How about it? If he loses, all the demon beasts that Class 2 hunts will belong to you. Principal Zhang said, in a sparring match, it's fine as long as we stop. All right. Qin Yun replied. Class 2 had killed 10 rank 4 demonic beasts. One of them was worth 2,000 crystal coins. In total, it was 20,000, which was quite a considerable amount. Zheng Yuanqing was secretly pleased with himself. If he defeated Qin Yun, his reputation would definitely soar. It would be of great help to him in raising his status in the family. Everyone made way for them to compete. Begin. Principal Zhang shouted. Zheng Yuanqing's tiger body trembled as the aura of a ferocious beast surged out. He released his aura and charged at Qin Yun like an enraged beast. As he charged, his hands suddenly turned into tiger claws. This was an illusion created by the cultivation technique he had learned. It looked very realistic and powerful. It's a low-grade spirit-level fierce tiger claw. Previously, a rank 4 demonic beast was torn apart by him. I wonder how Qin Yun will deal with it. Chapter 41. Hua Ling Pixing Yuanqing's attack was as swift and fierce as a tiger. Just his aura alone was shocking. Just as everyone felt that Qin Yun would not be able to withstand it, they saw a faint golden mist seep out from his body. A wave of hot air also surged out. With a whoosh, the pale golden mist began to burn, turning into a flaming barrier. Furthermore, it began to spin rapidly. Qin Yun constantly released his inner qi, causing it to form a sturdy barrier. As the elemental energy in his dantian spun rapidly, it stirred up waves of scorching air. Zheng Yuanqing also felt the heat. However, he believed that his tiger claws were stronger and would definitely be able to penetrate the thin barrier. Tiger claw shattering heart. After Zheng Yuanqing went over, he extended his tiger claw. His speed suddenly increased by a lot, causing the powerful tiger claw to charge forward and stab at Qin Yun's chest. Everyone held their breaths as they looked at the sharp tiger claw. The tiger claw made contact with the flaming barrier and produced a loud explosion. Bang! A scorching wave of air suddenly burst out from the barrier, sending the menacing Zheng Yuanqing flying. Ah! Zheng Yuanqing gritted his teeth and roared in pain. His palm was extremely red and severely burned. The pain made him break out in a cold sweat and his face turned green. Qin Yun is actually able to release such a level of inner qi so quickly. The speed at which his elemental energy revolves must be as fast as the flaming barrier, a teacher said with a frown. Qin Yun has cultivated the Black Yang tactic to the large success stage. At the large success stage of his inner force, his inner qi is even stronger and he can control it more freely. Principal Zhang squinted his eyes and exclaimed, "Large success in inner force." All the freshmen present wailed in their hearts. They had only just started cultivating their inner force. They did not know when they would reach the initial stage, but Qin Yun had already reached the large success stage. For freshmen, it's best to start cultivating regular inner force skills. The Black Yang tactic that Qin Yun cultivates is not bad. Ding Tianchun said, "In many new families, the cultivation techniques are at the spirit level. For those who have just started cultivating inner force, it is extremely difficult to learn." When the other students heard this, they all regretted it. If he had cultivated an ordinary inner force skill, he might have already reached the small success stage. When it was about time, he would be able to switch to a better inner force skill and it would be easier to learn. "I admit defeat." Zheng Yuanqing looked at his burnt hand and shouted while gritting his teeth. They were both at the 5th level martial body realm, but the difference was so great. "I'm not convinced either." Yen Yun walked out from the crowd. "Qin Yun, if you have the ability, stand still and let me punch you. As long as I can force you to retreat, you'll lose." "How about it?" Qin Yun said. "As long as you lose, the 8 Class 4 demonic beast corpses of your Class 5 will belong to me. How about it?" "Alright." After Yen Yun finished speaking, she immediately used the swallow steps and rushed over. Her jade-like hands overflowed with water vapor, and after a dozen steps, the water vapor turned into frost. She had a water martial spirit. Through her inner force, she could turn water into frost. This level was considered pretty good among the freshmen. Previously, as Qin Yun's barrier was too hot, Zheng Yuanqing was unable to penetrate it. Right now, Yen Yun was using her own cold energy to resist the scorching heat. Furthermore, her other hand had also condensed a large ball of water. Yen Yun was full of confidence, thinking that she would definitely succeed. She couldn't help but reveal a complacent smile. She used the momentum of her flight to throw out the ball of water that she had condensed. Then, her ice palm followed behind the ball of water and struck out with great force. Everyone couldn't help but praise Yen Yun's intelligence for thinking of a way to extinguish the fire with water. Just as Yen Yun was feeling complacent, the ball of water she shot out instantly evaporated the moment it touched the flame shield. Her expression changed, but it was too late. The ice palm touched the flaming shield. At the same time, the expressions of the few teachers changed drastically as they rushed over. The teachers acted quickly and quickly extinguished the flames, preventing Yen Yun from being seriously injured. However, she was also burned to a sorry state. Her hand was even more severely injured than Jing Yuanqing's. Yan Yun was in pain and angry. She burst into tears. Ever since he was young, this was the first time he had suffered so much. Then, he cried and fainted in the arms of a middle-aged female teacher. Everyone felt inexplicably pleased when they saw the arrogant barbarian woman stumble. "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me?" Qin Yun glanced at the group of students and asked. Those students were all silent. They were all looking at the waves. Jiang Lang possessed the sound wave martial spirit, and he was at the 5th level of the martial body stage. If he were to fight, his chances of winning would be very high. However, he had no intention of fighting. This person was extremely ruthless and didn't speak much. Seeing that he was indifferent, he couldn't help but feel that he was shrewd. Since no one else is coming, then it's settled. Principal Zhang handed Qin Yun a jade token that allowed him to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Following that, Qin Yun also obtained the demonic beasts that Class 2 and Class 5 had killed. There were a total of 18 beasts. Adding on the ones that he had killed himself, it could be said to be a bountiful harvest. The expressions of the class that had lost the corpses of the demonic beasts were very ugly. The corpse of the swift ape that Qin Yun had obtained was the most precious. It was a rank 7 demonic beast. On the way back, Ding Tianchun had given him the corpse of the swift ape. Everyone waited for another day, but Cui Hui and the students of the 3rd class still hadn't returned. During this time, they saw a giant fiery red eagle flying through the sky. It was a rank 8 demonic beast. In the outer region of the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, there are more and more Class 8 and 9 demon beasts appearing. Something must have happened inside. I'll go in and take a look. You guys return to the Hua Ling Wu Academy first. After Principal Zhang finished speaking, he entered the depths of the forest alone. The teachers and students also quickly returned to the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Half a day later, they returned to the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Yang sure you brought Qin Yun to the bottom of Hua Ling Peak. Hua Ling Peak was the tallest mountain in the Hua Ling Wu Academy. In the innermost area of the academy, it was 10,000 meters tall. The top of the mountain was covered in frost all year round and was extremely cold. The Hua Ling Peak was steep and he needed to climb it himself. This was not too difficult for Qin Yun, who was at the 5th level of the martial body realm. However, it took him several hours to reach the peak. The peak was extremely cold. Ice and snow fluttered in the air and the cold wind was like knives. Qin Yun looked at the 9 suns in the sky and walked towards a 9-story ice pagoda. He thought to himself, although there are a few suns, only one of them is hot. The other 8 are only emitting light. How strange. Because the tower was covered in ice and snow, it looked like an ice tower. When Qin Yun entered the ice tower, he saw a white-haired old man in his twilight years. He took out the jade token that Principal Zhang had given him and handed it over. He said, "Hello, Senior. I have obtained the qualifications to enter the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array." The old man took the jade token and said slowly, "The 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array is at the top. After you go up, wait patiently. I will activate the array. 10 days later, the formation will stop. At that time, you should quickly leave this place." Qin Yun nodded and walked up the stairs to the top floor. Chapter 42. 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Qin Yun looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, he took out the 36 spirit inscriptions, bamboo slip and opened it. As expected, the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array used a few of the spirit inscriptions. All I saw were the parts of the bright lines, that's why I felt it was familiar. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. Then, he walked back and forth on the floor, memorizing the locations of the spirit inscriptions. Then, he took out another piece of paper and quickly drew on it. Soon, he had drawn the entire 9-yang spirit convergence array. Suddenly, a strong aura fluctuated as a large amount of 9-yang energy poured in. The 9-yang spirit convergence array had been activated. Qin Yun hurriedly sat down cross-legged and circulated the black yang tactic to absorb the 9-yang energy. After stepping into the 5th level of the martial body realm, you need to continuously condense inner force to develop and strengthen your inner yuan. This will allow the inner yuan to contain more and more inner qi, allowing you to continuously condense more inner force. Then, you can use the powerful inner force to temper your body and cultivate the 3 great scriptures. Yang Shi had previously told him that when he was at the 5th level of the martial body realm, he would need to condense the bone meridian, heart meridian, and soul meridian in his body before he could step into the 6th level of the martial body realm. Qin Yun looked at the black vibrating elemental energy and thought to himself, I have talent equivalent to a 9-yang spirit vein. However, because I have 2 elemental energies, I have to put in more effort. This can also make me stronger. 10 days passed by quickly. In the 9-yang spirit convergence array, Qin Yun absorbed a large amount of 9-yang energy. It was equivalent to 2 years of absorption. After the array stopped, Qin Yun reluctantly walked down the stairs. He did not break through, but the 2 elemental energies had become much larger. The main reason was that he needed to consume a lot of inner force to consolidate his vibrating elemental energy. Last time, he had been heavily injured by Qin Diren in his dantian, but his elemental energy was unharmed. It was because he was protecting himself with his vibrating elemental energy. Therefore, it was worth it no matter how much inner force he consumed to vibrate his elemental energy. Next, I need to condense 3 great scriptures in order to break through to the 6th level of the martial body realm. Although I am not at the 6th level martial body realm, even if I cannot win against a martial artist at the 6th level martial body realm, I will not lose. Qin Yun walked out of the ice pagoda and took a bath in the ice and snow outside. He changed into a set of clean white clothes and began climbing down Hualing Peak. When he came down from Hualing Peak, he saw Yang Shi slowly walking over from afar. She was dressed in a purple dress, which made her look noble and cold, gorgeous and moving. Qin Yun said with smile, Teacher, you came on time. Yang Shi smiled lightly and said, You are my only precious student, of course I have to take good care of you. Besides, I am very worried about Master Wei being in the Hualing Wu Academy. He hasn't left yet? Didn't they say that they were going to hold a banquet to celebrate Wei Xuanquan becoming a talisman master? It hasn't been opened yet. Qin Yun could not help but laugh. It's just talisman making, what's the big deal? Yang Shi secretly curled her lips. In Qin Yun's eyes, it was indeed nothing much. However, to most people, so long as they were able to craft a talisman successfully, it was worth celebrating. She said, Master Wei invited too many guests, so it was delayed until now. He also invited us. Are you going? Qin Yun said with a smile. Why wouldn't I go if I can eat and drink for free? After all, it's Master Wei. They will definitely use the best food and wine to entertain the guests. He had been cultivating on the ice tower for 10 days. Although he did not feel hungry after absorbing spiritual energy, he was very passionate about delicacies and would eat whenever he could. Yang Shi said with a faint smile, All right, let's go together. I heard that it's all high-quality food and wine, so the taste will definitely be good. When the time comes, we'll have a drink or 2. We'll use this banquet to congratulate you on successfully creating a spirit inscription. As Qin Yun and Yang Shi chatted and laughed, they arrived at the side of the lake. The 2 of them strolled along the bank that was filled with willow trees. Teacher, Yen Yun was injured by me. With her personality, she definitely won't let this go. Qin Yun said worriedly. Wei Xuanquan was also injured by you. What can he do to you? Yang Shiyu disapproved. No. He secretly took revenge. Qin Yun recalled the matter and anger surfaced on his face. It seems like there's another reason why Teacher Ding was injured. Yang Shiyu had felt that this matter was somewhat fishy. Is Principal Zhang back? Qin Yun lowered his voice and asked as he looked around. When Yang Shiyu saw Qin Yun's actions, she could tell that something shocking was going on. She hurriedly pulled him back to the small house in the bamboo forest. Teacher Ding and I were ambushed inside. Qin Yun took out the corpse of the swift ape and placed it on the ground in the hall. This is... Yang Shiyu frowned slightly. Soon she saw a collar and said, a demonic beast with a master. After Teacher Ding was injured in the battle with this swift ape, Cui Hui brought a group of students out. I was surrounded by students and Teacher Ding and Cui Hui fought bitterly. When Qin Yun said this, Yang Shiyu had already vaguely guessed something. Principal Zhang came back 2 days ago. He couldn't find Cui Hui and that group of students. Yang Shiyu looked at Qin Yun with a questioning gaze. Qin Yun nodded. I was the one who killed the students and Cui Hui. Qin Yun sighed and told Yang Shiyu what had happened. Just pretend that this didn't happen. Teacher Ding definitely won't tell anyone. Yang Shiyu patted Qin Yun's head and smiled gently. Hurry up and tell me about your gains in the 9 Yang Spirit Convergence Array. Qin Yun told Yang Shiyu about his cultivation situation and asked her for advice on the essentials of cultivating the 3 great scriptures. After Yang Shiyu finished listening, she smiled in satisfaction and began to talk about the aspects that needed to be paid attention to in cultivating the 3 great scriptures. Qin Yun listened very seriously and raised some questions from time to time. It wasn't until late at night that Yang Shiyu finished the lesson and returned to their rooms to rest. At night, Qin Yun was full of energy. Instead of resting, he was crafting talismans. The lightning talisman Cui Hui used is really powerful. It can injure a steel tiger. He found a lightning rune from the bamboo scroll that recorded the spirit runes and then inscribed it on the talisman paper. After a few failures, he finally succeeded in creating a lightning talisman. With Qin Yun's experience in crafting fire talismans, it was much easier for him to craft other talismans. Right now, I'm only making low-grade spirit talismans. Cui Hui is using high-grade and top-grade lightning talismans. Qin Yun looked at the lightning talismans he had created and felt very satisfied. As my cultivation level increases, my mental strength will also increase by quite a bit. Now I can make fire talismans faster than before. Later on, he created another fire talisman before going to rest. At dawn, the largest martial arts practice square in the Hualing Martial Arts Academy was bustling with noise and excitement. In the martial arts practice square, many people were busy moving chairs and preparing for the grand banquet. Master Wei had put in a lot of effort to celebrate his son's birthday. At the same time, it was also to allow Wei Xuanquan to use this celebration to redeem the face he had lost to Qin Yun. In the evening, the 9 bright red suns dyed the world red. In the martial arts practice field of the Hualing Martial Arts Academy, it was gorgeous and the officials were like a city. It could be seen how high Master Wei's status was. Chapter 43. Banquet. At the beginning of the banquet, Master Wei was dressed in a dazzling golden robe. It was very luxurious. His square face was filled with smiles as he walked onto a dueling platform in front of him and began to speak courteously. After Master Wei finished his courteous words, he went up to Wei Xuanquan. He was dressed in the same golden robes as his father, and there was a sword hanging from his waist. It seemed to be a spirit artifact. Wei Xuanquan also said a lot of pleasantries before starting to set off fireworks. After the fireworks were set off, the battling platform was filled with singing and dancing. The guests below the stage were drinking and chatting merrily. Many nobles from famous sects came forward to congratulate Wei Xuanquan and Master Wei. It was very lively. Qin Yun, on the other hand, ate and drank with Yang Shiyu. In any case, it was free. Furthermore, Principal Zhang was also here in the Hualing Wu Academy, so Master Wei wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. Yang Shiyu was also dressed simply tonight. She wore a simple and elegant white dress. After drinking a few cups of wine, a faint blush appeared on her jade-like face, making her look extremely charming. Master Wei held a cup of wine and floated to Qin Yun's side in a few steps. He laughed heartily and said, "Qin Yun, after you defeated Kuan-er, you defeated Little Yun and obtained the qualifications to enter the 9-Yang Spirit Convergence Array. You can be said to be the #1 genius among the freshmen of the Hualing Wu Academy. I am truly grateful that you are able to attend this banquet." Although the martial arts practice field was bustling with noise, Master Wei's unhurried voice entered everyone's ears. Master Wei said such polite words and even toasted Qin Yun. Such magnanimity made many people praise him repeatedly. Qin Yun hurriedly stood up to toast and said with a smile, "Master Wei is too polite. We are all students of the Hualing Wu Academy. Senior Wei being able to craft talismans is naturally the glory of the Hualing Wu Academy. Of course I have to come." His refreshing laughter also covered the entire martial arts practice field. The strength of his inner qi caused many of the old officials to be secretly alarmed. Ever since Qin Yun entered the Hualing Wu Academy, the group of old officials had never seen him. Now that they saw him with their own eyes, they couldn't help but feel worried. At this moment, a white-haired old man walked over. He wore a purple-gold brocade robe and had a jade pendant hanging from his waist. He had a domineering aura. As he walked over, he stared at Qin Yun with a cold gaze. This white-haired old man was the Duke of Yan, Yan Yun's grandfather. After he walked over, he said to Master Wei, "Old Wei, you don't know. This child has been taught by a demoness since he was young. Although we took away 4 of his spirit veins, he still managed to cultivate a demonic art. That's why he's able to achieve what he has today. He's just a little demoness, he's not worthy of you toasting him." The group of old officials and the people from the aristocratic families also walked up and cooperated with the Duke of Yan, saying that Qin Yun cultivated a demonic art. Qin Yun knew that today would not be that simple. Previously, when they were training, he and Ding Tianchun had been attacked by the Quick Ape and Chui Hui. This was all related to Master Wei. He now knew that Master Wei was a hypocrite, just like those old officials. Principal Zhang walked over and said with a smile, "Qin Yun is a student of my Hualing Wu Academy. He does not cultivate demonic arts. The Black Yang art that he cultivated was given to him by Teacher Yang, and the martial skills he learned later on were the Flaming Light Fist and Fire Cloud Steps that he obtained himself. This is something that everyone knows." When the Duke of Yan saw Principal Zhang speak, he immediately revealed a worried expression. He clicked his tongue and sighed, "Principal, even though your words are like that, you can't convince the masses. You might not know this, but at this moment, the entire Tianqin believes that Qin Yun cultivates demonic art. Your one-sided words are hard to believe. Also, it is precisely because of Qin Yun that the reputation of the Hualing Wu Academy has become extremely poor and has been ridiculed by the martial academies of other countries." Yang Shiyu looked at the expressions of the other guests and knew that they had already secretly discussed this banquet to put pressure on the Hualing Wu Academy. Even if Qin Yun did not come this time, he would still make a big fuss here. "Then what do you think? Kill Qin Yun?" Principal Zhang chuckled and his tone turned cold as he said, "If I send a few thousand people to spread the news that Wei Xuanquan cultivates demonic arts, I think it won't be long before the entire country thinks that he cultivates demonic arts, right?" Everyone was puzzled as to why Principal Zhang was protecting Qin Yun. In their eyes, Principal Zhang should have chosen to give up on Qin Yun for the sake of the Hua Ling Wu Academy's reputation. The Duke of Yen seemed to have expected that Principal Zhang would protect Qin Yun. He said calmly, "Why don't we do this? Let Qin Yun compete with a stronger martial artist for an hour." In this hour, he faced the pressure and did not use his demonic art. That proves that he is innocent. This method is cruel, but it can effectively detect if he cultivates demonic art. During the martial arts competition, he might not be able to withstand the torture and release his demonic art. If he really uses a demonic art, we can promise not to kill him. We will only expel him from the country. The method proposed by the Duke of Yen received the support of many people. Yang Shiyu listened to him, and her face revealed anger. She shouted coldly, "I disagree. I also suspect that you cultivate demonic art. I will also use this method to test you. How about I compete with you in martial arts?" She was at the 9th level martial body realm, and came from the Tianxian martial school. She was definitely not weak, and no one knew what her martial spirit was. Not many of the old martial artists here at the 9th level martial body realm dared to fight with her. One of the patriarchs of the Wang family said, "In any case, we have already decided today. If Qin Yun cannot give us an explanation, we will drop out of school. We will also drop out of school and leave this martial arts academy that takes in devils. We will go to another empire's martial arts academy. Qin Yun has become so strong after cultivating demonic arts. He has occupied all the resources of the freshmen. This is very unfair, so we can only withdraw from school." The martial arts academies of other countries are not inferior to the Hua Ling Wu Academy. Moreover, the teachers and principals here are protecting devils. As teachers, we can't stand it any longer. Let's go as well. A teacher said. The patriarchs and teachers of the major clans were all shouting at the same time. Principal Zhang's expression was extremely ugly. He knew that this group of people would definitely be able to do the same. Now, he could only persuade Qin Yun to leave. Qin Yun suddenly asked, "Who are you arranging to compete with me? If it's not a martial artist that's too strong, I can accept it." The Duke of Yen chuckled and said with a proud smile, "A martial artist at the 6th level martial body realm. He is only 18 years old, and has just returned from the Lingxian Wu Academy. It is my grandson, Yan Qingyu. Yan Qingyu possesses the 4-yang spiritual pulse and the platinum sword martial spirit. He entered the Hua Ling Wu Academy a long time ago and was chosen by the Lingxian Wu Academy. I never thought that he would already be at the 6th level of the martial body realm." A student exclaimed. The Lingxian Wu Academy, the Tianxian Martial School, and the Starxian Wu Academy were known as the 3 profound martial schools. They were all equally powerful. The Duke of Yen said with a smile, "Don't worry, we won't use weapons during the martial arts competition. Qin Yun, if you can pass our test and prove that you are not a devil warrior, we will kneel down and apologize to you. Furthermore, we will give you a certain amount of compensation, 100,000 crystal coins." Chapter 44. Bone Forging Scripture. Yang Shiyu pulled Qin Yun over because she had heard of Yan Qingyu and knew that he was very strong. She looked at the group of people and said, "Qin Yun, with your talent, even if you are not in the martial arts academy, you will still be able to achieve great things." Qin Yun said, "Teacher, believe me. I'm not only doing this for myself, but also to let others know that you are not harboring a devil and that your students are very outstanding." His calm voice carried an unyielding arrogance. When Yang Shiyu saw Qin Yun's firm determination and confidence, she sighed softly and released his hand, allowing him to walk onto the battling platform. The Duke of Yen smiled proudly and said, "You only need to last for an hour. In this hour, there will be no one who will admit defeat or beg for mercy. And life and death is up to the heavens. He looked at Master Wei and continued, in order to ensure fairness, I would like to request Master Wei to activate a formation. In less than an hour, no one will be able to enter or exit. Suddenly, a cry came from the crowd. Yan Qingyu did not float out from there. He landed on the battling platform like a fallen leaf. His movement technique was praiseworthy. He wore a close-fitting green robe and had a handsome face. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. His eyes were filled with disdain as he sized up Qin Yun. Master Wei placed many small flags around the battling platform and quickly set up a formation. When the Duke of Yen and the other old officials saw that this matter had been settled, their faces were filled with joy. They laughed heartily and toasted each other. It was as if they were happy to see Qin Yun die. Yan Yun was the happiest. She looked at Qin Yun with a pair of sinister eyes and said with a smile, Brother Kun, Qin Yun is dead for sure this time, right? Qingyu is your brother. Don't you know his strength? The Ling Xian Wu Academy was a Xian-level martial arts academy. The students inside were all extremely terrifying. It was not something that a 5th-level martial body like Qin Yun could deal with. Even a 6th-level martial body cultivator would not be able to guarantee that he would not be injured when facing your brother. Wei Xuanquan also smiled happily. Qin Yun, who he hated to the bones, was about to die a tragic death. Principal Zhang's expression was solemn and cold. He took out an hour-long hourglass, flipped it over, and announced the start of the match. Of course, this could not be considered a martial arts competition because Yan Qingyu was much stronger than Qin Yun. As long as Qin Yun could last for an hour without using any demonic arts, everyone would believe that he was innocent. Yan Qingyu was a disciple of the Yan family. He had mastered the flying swallow steps very well. In the beginning, he suddenly flashed, leaving an afterimage behind him as he flew out. When he was still 2 meters away from Qin Yun, he raised his palm and struck out with a gust of wind. His inner force roared towards Qin Yun along with the gust of wind. So fast, much faster than me. When Qin Yun saw Yan Qingyu attack, he was alarmed. He immediately gritted his teeth. He could only block, there was no way to dodge. The blade-like gale blew on his body, as if countless sharp blades had sliced through his clothes. Fortunately, he circulated the accumulated internal qi into his muscles, causing them to tighten and stiffen. Otherwise, his body would definitely be lacerated. Although he could withstand it, he was blown back, his body leaning against the wall of air released by the array formation. The Duke of Yen let out a long laugh and said with a face full of righteousness, Qingyu has a sword martial spirit. He can use his hand as a sword and release sword qi. Right now, in order to force Qin Yun to release his demonic arts, he will have his own limit. He will not kill Qin Yun in an instant because this will not convince everyone. The 6th level of the martial body realm could use powerful inner strength, but Yan Qingyu did not use it. You injured little sister Yun earlier, now I will repay you 10 times for her. Yan Qingyu sneered. With a wave of his hand, he sent out a cyclone that swept Qin Yun over. After Qin Yun's body was swept over, he felt a sharp pain in his body like a needle. He could not help but cry out in pain. Following that, Yan Qingyu struck out with his palm, releasing a sharp sword qi. The sword qi enveloped him like 10,000 needles piercing his bones. It was so painful that Qin Yun roared crazily. Yan Yun giggled as she trembled. Wei Xuanquan was also so happy that he drank a bowl of wine. The old officials were grinning from ear to ear. They felt that Qin Yun, a great calamity, had been eliminated. Everyone was happy. Yang Shiryu clenched her jade-like fists tightly. Her face was frosty as she gritted her teeth. Her heart was filled with anger. Humph! When Yan Qingyu saw that Qin Yun was powerless to struggle, He struck Qin Yun's abdomen with his palm, striking his dantian and sending Qin Yun flying. He crashed into the array wall and spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately, thousands of people in the plaza cried out in alarm. Some people felt pity, some were excited, and some were helpless. This was because Yan Qingyu's palm was extremely heavy. Without any protection, the elemental energy in Qin Yun's dantian would definitely be severely injured. Everyone felt that even if he didn't die, he would have to spend the rest of his body in bed. A 15-year-old at the 5th level of the martial body realm was about to fall just like that. Everyone sighed endlessly. Yang Shiyu only watched expressionlessly. That palm strike had also caused her heart to tremble. Only when she saw Qin Yun slowly stand up did she heave a sigh of relief. She knew that Qin Yun had a powerful physique. After soaking in the celestial lion lake for 10 days, he had been tempered for a long time. He was tough and strong, so he wouldn't be defeated so easily. When they saw Qin Yun stand up, a soft exclamation came from below. This was very surprising. "All right, let's see how long you can last." Yan Qingyu's expression turned cold, as if he had received a great provocation. He flew forward and swept out with his sword-like inner force, lifting Qin Yun up and suspending him in midair. Qin Yun's body was enveloped by the sword qi, as though it was tied up by thorny vines. The bone-piercing sword qi constantly drilled into his body, causing pain to seep into his bones. Hold on. Although Qin Yun was in excruciating pain, he was clear-headed. He hurriedly circulated the Black Yang tactic, allowing the two elemental energies to revolve and condense inner force that flowed through his body. Now, he was certain that his elemental energy would not be shattered. Because the vibrating elemental energy was extremely powerful, when Yan Qingyu attacked with great force, the vibrating elemental energy once again protected his dantian. Qin Yun controlled his inner force to flow through his body, crushing and fusing the bone-piercing sword qi. Then, it charged into his bone marrow and tempered his bones. Yang Shiyu had previously said that the fastest way to condense the bone scripture was to undergo intense stimulation. Usually, precious medicinal herbs and high-grade beast blood were used to concoct a medicinal liquid to soak the entire body. Qin Yun did not have the conditions to soak in a medicinal bath, so he could only use this method. He looked at Yan Qingyu and secretly endured it in his heart. He said, "Don't be complacent, I'm using your sword qi to forge the bone scripture." Boom. Yan Qingyu continued to use his sword qi to wreak havoc on Qin Yun. It was as though he was hitting a sandbag. He constantly ravaged him with greater strength each time. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. They were not frightened by Yan Qingyu's methods, but by Qin Yun's resilient body. Every time Qin Yun suffered a heavy blow, everyone thought that he had completely fallen to the ground. However, he was always able to drag his battered body to stand up time and time again. Such tenacious willpower made many people admire him. Yang Shiyu's tightly clenched jade-like fists were covered in sweat. She could not bear to watch as she secretly ached. How could she not tell that Qin Yun was forging the bone scripture? However, this was too tragic. However, she had no choice but to watch. She was worried that something might happen to Qin Yun. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.